Hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where, as always, we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I'm your host, Uncivil Law, a licensed attorney in Texas, Virginia, and before the U.S. Supreme Court. And as always, I hope you're having a great day. For today's stream, we turn our attention once again to the Treehouse murder trial, a case we've covered in part before. This involves the case of Franklin Tucker. Franklin Tucker is accused of stabbing some people in what has been charitably described as a treehouse. What in reality might be described as a patio or a balcony or a veranda that was built on top of an RV. But we've decided to call it a treehouse because that's how we roll. So he's been accused of this, but the defendant is representing himself and so far seems to be doing a reasonably good job of it, to be honest. The defendant has some reasonable evidence, including from victims who say he wasn't the person who did it. Now, he might be the getaway driver or something else, but hey, the evidence tying him to this thing is a little bit vague, and he's been actually doing a half-decent job in his questions and his cross-examination, asking questions to illuminate weaknesses in the evidence. So, I've seen attorneys do worse, and he's not doing too bad for himself to be. His opening argument was good, and the parts we saw were good. I mean, it's not perfect. He definitely makes some mistakes along the way, but, not bad, man. Not bad for a pro se. He seems to be doing okay. So I kind of like this guy. And this guy has decided to take the stand in his own defense. So he's both his own lawyer and he's now a witness for himself. Fantastic. So this is just all the fun, right? This is all the fun because he's going to get on the stand and say some things. And then we're going to hear some cross-examination from the state. And this should be interesting as hell. So we turn our attention to this ongoing trial. Right about now, we are about 50 minutes behind real time. We're about 50 minutes behind real time, but I don't want to deprive you of anything, and I definitely don't want to play it at 1.25 because I want us to really enjoy the thing. So we'll just be an hour behind. That's okay. We can live with that. So let's listen to this testimony and see how this goes. Let's go ahead and get started with this. So this is just now. So this is the port where they're back from lunch break. So I'm just picking up everything past the lunch break. So before lunch, there was apparently a fairly lengthy argument over, there's like a 4-hour argument over some things that he might be testifying to or not. So the state was making all kinds of objections about what he could testify to or not. So the morning session was an argument over that.
We'll wait for the remaining juror. Make yourself comfortable.
And now we're going to have the actual testimony happen.
All jurors present in the courtroom, Your Honor.
Thank you. Please be seated, everyone. Members of the jury, welcome back. Good to see you back again. I'm sure you recall that I informed you before we took a very early break this morning that the defense's presentation had been completed. I was a bit premature with that. There's one other aspect of evidence that is going to be presented. So, Mr. Tucker.
I guess I'm calling myself to the stand.
All right, so Mr. Tucker is going to be a witness in the case. So if you'd approach the deputy, turn, face the clerk, raise your just raise your right hand, face the clerk. You've already cleared security like everybody else here, so you're good. Just we want to put you under oath like every other witness.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in the cause now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
All right, please have a seat on the witness stand.
Did he shake his head no? Wait a second. What?
Seat on the witness.
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
All right, please have a seat on the witness stand.
Okay, that's a little weird, but all right.
Actually, if you would, thank you. I'm probably going to need somewhere in here.
All right, so first of all, would you state your name?
Franklin Tyrone Tucker.
All right. So, as you all know, Mr. Tucker's acting as his own attorney. So in this particular direct examination, he is being allowed to testify in narrative form. Rather than asking himself questions and then giving an answer, he's just going to testify as a narrative. So you can proceed.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little weird. Not exactly expected, guys. I'm sorry about that. But I guess we're going to start. I think the best place probably to start is probably around Hurricane Irma. That would probably be the best way to go. I had been in Key West for, I don't know, a while. Been probably a couple years. Been working on boats. Originally, before this storm happened, I got myself a boat. Actually, I had 3 at one point. But, you know, doing the idea was to, sail the Caribbean, you know, eventually island hop my way down to Venezuela and then go to, you know, South America, go up the mouth of the Amazon. Didn't happen, you know. Obviously, Irma did a lot of damage. I mean, I'm sure some of you were here and remember. But the thing is I didn't evacuate when that happened, and eventually, just prior to this incident happening, I was working doing hurricane cleanup. You know, there wasn't very many of us here. A lot of people had evacuated, you know, so there wasn't too many people here to do that kind of work. Not that it was my normal thing, but yeah, I mean, I was getting paid pretty good money, to be honest. It was, you know, they had some of the more wealthy neighborhoods that were up in the Big Pine area. They had people who wanted their roofs blue tarped. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but they wanted their roofs blue tarped, and they were paying me $300 an hour to get up there. And at the time, I mean, I was like, $300 an hour, I'm up there, no problem, you know. So, you know, I did some of that, and I also did hurricane, you know, like debris, getting rid of debris and chopping up, you know, cutting up like, I don't know, logs or whatever, trees that had fallen. You know, I do remember finding an airplane cockpit in somebody's backyard in Big Pine, and you know there's no airport near there, you know, so. Anyway, but you know, that's what I was doing for money at the time, and I was getting paid cash. So, like I said, $300 an hour, and you know, sometimes I'd do, I don't know, 4 or 5 roofs in a day sometimes. So, you know, that's pretty good money for that time, right? And yes, I did stay at cots at, you know, certain points, you know, just because, you know, like many people at that time, you know, didn't have it, you know, a lot of us, if you want to say homeless, I guess that is the word, but the thing is a lot of people were homeless at that point. A lot of people lost their boats, a lot of people lost their houses, lost their homes. I wasn't exactly special that way, but I was working the whole time, and you know, I was making good money, and my whole plan was to buy another boat, you know, and you know, again, resume my plan to sail off into the Caribbean. And this, you know, this is a personal note, I guess, because of the time. Most people don't know I have a 14-year-old. I had a 14-year-old son at the time that I raised myself. You know, I was a single dad, you know, and I raised him up till.
Objection to the relevance.
Okay.
Well, because he was supposed to come live with me. That's the only.
I'm sorry, Mr.
story.
You wanted to complete your thought there? If it's connected, go ahead.
No, it's just part of the story because he was actually supposed to, you know, he was supposed to be coming to live with me in about 2 months before, you know, when this happened.
Okay.
Right after this happened, I had about 2 months, and he was supposed to come live with me. So, you know, it is kind of part of the story. You know, you can see my mentality at the time. But the thing is okay. So anyway, that didn't happen, obviously. So as far as the warehouse, right? The warehouse, I remember it from the storm because, yes, I did stay there during the storm. And, you know, it was a big steel building. It was on cinder blocks. So, I mean, you know, okay. You know, it seemed like a good place to ride out the storm. And the only thing I was worried about was the roof getting blown off. You know, so, you know, I stayed there for, I don't know, maybe a week. I don't know, something like that. I can't remember exactly. But, you know, and I know it's come out before that April Walker, Rory Wilson's girlfriend, did not like me, and I didn't stay there because of that. You know, it's like, and not only that, they were having, you know, between Rory and April, they had domestics that, I mean, I remember the cops coming out 3 times in one night when I was there, and I'm like, okay, this is not someplace I want to be, right? So I didn't stay there. I went, you know, I was staying at Cots again, right? And when I was staying at Cots, you know, I mean, it was okay. I mean, I don't necessarily like staying there, but I mean, you know, I was saving up money. That's basically it, saving up money, getting a new boat. Anyway, so, you know, somewhere's along the lines, and I don't remember exactly when this was, but, you know, I know Mr. Johnson testified that, you know, we met after he got out of jail. No, I was actually at work when he went to jail, and I remember very well when he went to jail because we knew each other prior to that. How, you know, he actually knows how I ended up at the warehouse. The way I ended up there is I had a friend, CJ and Michelle, who lived, you know, they were living in the same, I guess they, you know, you guys know conch houses, I guess is what they call them down here. But it wasn't really a conch house because it's a warehouse, and they had built apartments in there that I guess weren't really legal, but they were renting out rooms but sharing a bathroom and a kitchen and a dining room, right? And there's multiple roommates that are up there. So there's people, I don't even remember how many people live there. There's a bunch of people who live there. But anyway, but Roy Wilson and his girlfriend had the apartment downstairs. They actually had an apartment to themselves. And then there were people upstairs who lived in the apartments upstairs, or the rooms upstairs, I should say. One of them was brought up before a guy named David Gross, right? They like to call him the White Detroit in this whole story. But yes, he lived upstairs, and my friends CJ and Michelle had one of these rooms up there. And Michelle, she was the manager at Burger King. She was actually a manager at Burger King. I forget what CJ did, but the thing is okay, CJ somewhere along the lines gets into an altercation with David Gross and punches him in the nose, right? And you know, again, you know, David goes ahead and gets a restraining order against CJ. Now, I just happened to show up the day that, man, the police are escorting CJ and Michelle out of there because of this restraining order, right? And you know, as they're going out, they're going to a hotel. That's where they're going to go, and they can't take all their belongings with them, right? Can't take everything with them. So they asked me. They were like, "Okay, well, would you stay here and watch our stuff, make sure nobody messes with it, make sure nobody steals it, you know, that kind of stuff. Stay here, you know, while you know, until we can come back and get our stuff, right?" And I was like, at first I was like, okay, you know, well, I've got to be at work in a few days, you know, but yeah, I can watch it for you, you know. And so I do, and I go and I stay in CJ and Michelle's room. And you know, I did come into contact with a few of these people, you know. I mean, it's like, again, Travis was one of them. I didn't know him very well. As far as I knew, he came down from Michigan with a guy named Scott Gideon. That's the one I asked about. Or no, sorry, Matthew Gideon is his name. They called him Matty. But anyway, he had come down from Michigan with this guy. And, you know, I mean, they were okay. I mean, I didn't really think anything of them. But, you know, but they were okay. And, you know, I don't remember exactly how long I was there before this incident happened. But this is how I end up, you know, in this thing. Because, okay, like I said, I don't remember exactly the time frame here. But I do remember some of the people that were around at the time. I do remember Travis was there. I know Matthew had already left, and I think Matthew went to the beach, if I'm correct. But again, Mr. Johnson ended up with his medications. So, you know, that's a whole different story. But the thing is I'm trying to remember now. It's like, you got to remember, this is around Fantasy Fest time, you know, when this happens, right? Because, okay, it happens on November 17th, right? And Fantasy Fest, you know, that year was on Halloween, the 31st, right? Now I know just my own phone records that I looked at recently when I was looking at it for this case, right? I had 2 phone calls with John Travis Johnson, right? And they're from the 28th of October, right? So I must have met him somewhere in that time period, right? And I know that year for Fantasy Fest, I don't remember what the theme was. I don't remember what the theme was, but I know that the parade was on Halloween night, and I know it was at the Green Parrot that night, right? And you know, I hung out there quite a bit. My friend, longtime friend, runs the place. I don't know if any of you know Jim Possum, but yeah, he runs the place. And so I still have quite a few friends. I've been coming here since I was 13, you know, and been, I guess they call it a Key West rubber band is what they call me. You know, it's like I'll move away, I come back, I move away, I come back. My daughter was even born here, right? So anyway, to keep on going here, Fantasy Fest happens, and I'm hanging out with a friend of mine named Ben, and we're hanging out on what we call the party bench. It's right outside the little deli that's right there down on the corner. And he has a dog, can't take him in the bar, so, you know, we're hanging out on the bench. And some girls come by, and they wanted to paint up our faces, and of course we let them, right? I mean, it's like, okay, why not, right? So they go ahead and paint up our faces and all that. And, you know, then they're like, okay, well, can you pose for us, you know, look scary, that kind of thing. Okay, so we do, both of us, right? So there's a picture of both of us like this. But anyway, so fast forward. We go down to the point where all this has happened. And again, you know, Fantasy Fest, I mean, look, I have a tendency to drink more when I come to Key West than any place else I ever live. You know, it's like, especially when I was on the boatyard and working on boats and stuff like that, because I did do quite a bit of that. I actually did a restoration project on a big Hatteras yacht at one point. But, so yeah, I have a tendency to drink more when I'm down here. And this one day, you know, and this is about the best I could recollect, is, you know, I remember that day I was drinking Fireball with Travis.
Of course you were.
Right? So
Of course you were. What else would you be drinking?
I'd been drinking that day. And I know I went into the bedroom, which is, again, CJ and Michelle's room. And I know, so this is during the time period where I'm watching it for them. You know, so I remember that. And I don't remember much else about the day, except I do remember at one point, it's got to be later on in the evening, and I wake up and I'm out of cigarettes, right? And I wake up and I get, you know, and Travis is actually there, right? So I go and I walk to Tom Thumb, you know, to get cigarettes, and I go over there to get cigarettes, and I come back, and when we were up at Tom Thumb, right? I remember looking, and I'm like, I could look up, okay, there's the fire stations right there, and then you can see Laurel Avenue, where this happened, right? You can see Laurel Avenue from there. And I could see the cop lights up there, right? I could see a bunch of cop lights up there. And I remember saying to Travis, I was like, man, I wonder what happened up there, right? And it's like, you know, and the thing is again, you know, I'm not in dark clothing. I am in shorts. I am wearing sandals. I am wearing, you know, normal people clothes, right? I guess I should say normal for Key West, right? But anyway, yes, and Mr. Mansfield alluded to this. You know, I did have a nice big long goatee, and you know, I had, you know, Lord knows I have tattoos when I take off my suit. You know, but the bottom line is, you know, I planned on living on boats, and yes, I was living that lifestyle. It's like, you know, I planned on sailing off into the sunset, and you know, and just enjoying my life and kind of traveling, you know. And, you know, so I kind of look like a little savage. I'm not going to say I didn't, you know. It's like, you know, us boat people, we kind of had have a style, I guess. I don't know what it is. And, you know, and yeah, it's kind of a freer way of living, I guess. Anyway, but beside the point. So getting back to that night, I remember looking up down Laurel Avenue and seeing the lights, right? By the time we got back, right, so it's not a very far walk from Tom Thumb to the warehouse. But by the time we got back there were cop cars everywhere. I mean, you know, I'd never seen anything like that on Stock Island, right? I mean, you know, literally, you had the FWC, Border Patrol, you know, there's police everywhere, and they're going everywhere, right? And, you know, there's police sirens everywhere. And I remember, you know, we went back inside, and I think Travis did buy like a 12-pack of beer or something like that, right? And we go back inside, and I remember you could see, again, there's a bunch of these cop cars that went down into what they call it Little Haiti there, right? It's a bunch of trailers, and, you know, and yes, it's before you get to the Hogfish, right? That road there. And I remember there's a bunch of cop cars that, man, you're going down into that neighborhood, right? And I'm like, damn, I wonder what those guys did. I'm like, you know, I mean, whatever it is, they want them bad, you know, so. And I think I said that to Travis, I'm not sure. Oh, and by the way, when we got back, that was the other thing, Big Scott was waiting for us when we got back. I remember that too. Because, okay, I know Travis, he testified that, you know, he had the key to the door. Him and Maury Wilson were the only ones with the keys to the door, right? So, Big Scott was waiting outside for us, right? And because he couldn't get inside, right? He couldn't get in the door, right? So anyway, so we go upstairs, and and when I saw all that stuff out the window, you got to remember I'm still a little bit lit. I managed to walk my butt down to the thumb, but I wasn't going much farther than that. So anyway, so I go from there. Let's see, I go from there, and I remember Big Scott and Travis were going to go, and they were going to go hang out on the front porch downstairs and watch the cop cars go by, just see what was up. They're going to drink beer on the porch and watch the cop cars. I'm like, okay, I'm going back to bed, because I was like, I'm not, I'm still not good, right? So I went back in and I passed out and in the bed, right? And was it CJ and Michelle's room, right? So I passed out in there. And from what I understand, again, I can't, I can't really, say, except for I've seen it on video now. I mean, I've seen it on video as far as some of this stuff. But while I was upstairs and I'm passed out in there, this is where, okay, to clarify, when I went to go get cigarettes at Tom Thumb, right, it has to be sometime after the Florida Keys Electric video that you see there, right? It has to be sometime after that. I don't know when, but unfortunately, that's all we have for video. So I don't know. I just know that it had to be sometime after that, because, like I said, Travis is already there. So it's like, okay, I know it has to be there, right? So anyway, so I don't know exactly, what time. I couldn't tell you exactly what time. I do know that yes, it would have been helpful if we had the video from Tom Thumb.
Judge, can I come sidebar?
Oh, okay, yeah. So,
Why are we doing a sidebar, man? I mean, come on. Why are we doing a sidebar? We do too many sidebars in this trial, man. I'm not against sidebars, but it just seems like we do a lot of them. And skip the sidebar since we're not live. We can skip this.
all direct examination, testimony.
So I'm going to, okay, back to where we are with the story. So again, I'm passed out in bed, and somewheres along the lines, again, the police show up at the house is because, okay, this was told to me by Travis and Big Scott. Okay.
We'll sustain the objection.
Okay. Well, I get woke up along the lines somewheres along the night, and I don't remember when, but I remember, man, I get woken up in the middle of the night, and because when they went downstairs to go and check this out, right? I remember telling them, I was like, I'm going to go to sleep, man. I'm like, yeah, tell me what happened later, just tell me what happened, because I mean it is kind of a big deal, So anyway, so I go pass out, and somewheres along the night, I wake up, man, and Rory Wilson is there, and Travis is there, and Big Scott's there. And, I mean, we're drinking and, yeah, smoking some weed, I mean, and, as far as crack, I don't remember, man, the crack thing. Not too much of it anyway. I mean, I vaguely remember some of it. But the thing is because, I say that because I seem to remember somebody having crack and somebody smoking it, but man, I don't remember. I do, again, at this point, I'm resuming drinking, and I am smoking weed at this time, right? So I'm not, again, I'm refogging my brain at this point. So anyway, so after that, let's see, because, okay, like I said, again, I had a tendency around Fantasy Fest. It was usually a couple weeks worth of partying, man, during Fantasy Fest is usually what it was for me, but I don't remember much, man, as far as the next day. I don't really remember too much as far as that went. You know, I do remember, okay, this is one thing I do remember. I go, because again, it starts, you know, it's been many years, and I can't really tell you guys, man, you know, exactly, because it has been years, and I'm trying to, you know, my best to remember here. But I do remember there's a point that comes in there where we have two detectives that show up at the door, right? And they come to the front door, and I open the door for them. You know, I literally open the door for them, and it, you know, I know now who they are. You know, I mean, I'm sure they introduced themselves at the time. I just don't remember them introducing themselves. But it was Detective Smith and Detective Fernandez, right? And now, don't get me wrong. I knew they were detectives because they're not wearing uniforms and they've got their badge on their belt, right? So the thing is okay. So I know they're detectives, right? And they start asking me questions about Rory Wilson, right? And you know, I know Rory. I mean, I don't know. You know, again. It's not like we hang out all the time. It's not like I know him, you know, I know him that well, right? But I know him, right? And but they're asking me questions like, okay, you know, they're asking me, you know, is he a drug dealer? You know, they're asking me, you know, stuff like that, right? And I'm like, well, not that I know of. You know, I know he has a job. You know, I mean, I know he has a pregnant girlfriend. I know that. You know, but you know, they're asking me a bunch of different questions, right? And you know, I actually even, you know, I even gave him, you know, Rory's phone number. I was like, you know, if you want to contact him, here, I'll give you his number, right? And I remember Rory after that, man. It's like, you know, it's hard to weird, but he texts me right after they leave, and because I also told him that Rory's door is around the other side of the building, right? It's actually on the back side of the building. He has like a front door that's all his own, right? And I told him about that, and it's like, so anyway. Again, you know, it's a little fuzzy here, but I do remember Rory texting me not long after they left, right? And, you know, he's like, you know, cops.
Objection to hearsay.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. Well, anyway, so I do remember, you know, telling Rory I go to you know him because they left me a card, right? And I go knock on his door and I give him the card, right? And I said, look, man, these aren't uniformed officers. These are detectives, man. I'm like. You know, and they were asking me some questions about you, and you might want to give them a call. You know what I mean? So anyway, so that's
don't call them.
And I give them the card.
Don't ever call them.
And after that, let's see. I'm trying to remember anything important after that because, you know, okay. After that, I don't remember too much. Oh, because it wasn't too long after that where they come in and they do this raid. But okay, prior to the raid, I remember this. It's Thanksgiving time, right? So it's around Thanksgiving, right? And I remember DeLuna's had like a Thanksgiving dinner, like a free Thanksgiving dinner or something like that, right? And, you know, I like DeLuna's, and so I went over there for that. And I think this would be the 21st. I would have to say it's the 21st because actually, yeah, I know it's the 21st now. Okay, so it's the 21st, right? And, you know, I go and, you know, I was a little sketched out by, man, the detective showing up there, you know, because look, you know, the warehouse, you know, like I said, Rory Wilson, you know, and April had cops come there many times, right? And look, it's only a matter of time before you're going to get caught up in something, right? So I didn't want to stay there very long, and I actually told CJ and Michelle this, right? I'm like, you know, I'm trying to be a friend here, but at the same time, I'm not trying to hang out here too long, right? And so anyway, so I remember, you know, the raid at the warehouse. You know, that's what Travis called it. I don't know what you actually call it, but that night, you know, okay, I went to DeLuna's, went and did the whole dinner thing, and this is when I first heard about what had happened up at the Treehouse, right? I hear through a friend of mine, Janice. We were having dinner that night, you know, at the DeLuna's thing, and she told me that.
Objection to hearsay.
Oh. Okay, I was informed.
The objection in terms of the details.
I was informed that, you know, somebody got stabbed in the parking lot up at CVS. That's what I was informed of, right? And so that was my first, you know, hearing of this. Anyway, but that same night is when this thing happens as far as the whole raid thing. And I'm telling you, it's the stupidest thing I ever did, man, in this whole thing. Because, okay, they come in, and I'm upstairs, and I'm literally in CJ and Michelle's room, and I had a laptop, you know, kind of like I do now, but I had a laptop, and I was watching TV on the laptop, right? And I was just getting ready, you know, watching, you know, another show. And when they came in, the way that place was laid out, they had like, because it was an old warehouse, right? So they had, the one I was in, you could literally see to downstairs, right? It had like a plexiglass window that went across one of the walls. I imagine it was like an old supervisor, like an old supervisor office or something. But you could look down and you could actually see right downstairs, right? And I hear a bunch of commotion down there. And I look down, from the plexiglass, the window, and I could see the cops banging on the door, right? They're actually, because, okay, it's two separate, Lori's got his in the back. There's this big storage room. And then there's like the stairs that go up to the other, I don't want to say apartments, but the other rooms where people were renting, right? And so they're banging on the door, right? And they've got a battering ram. There's boom, boom. And then I see they've got ski masks on. They've got assault rifles. There's smoke. I mean, literally, I look down there and I'm just like, oh my God, right? And so anyway, do the dumbest thing that you could possibly ever do. I go out of CJ and Michelle's room and I come walking down the stairs with my hands up, looking like an idiot because I'm sitting there going, I'll open the door, just don't shoot. Like they can see me. It's like, so as soon as I open the door, the next thing you know, I've got an assault rifle in my nose, right? And they're leading me out. And, literally I'm like whipped around, handcuffs on, and taken out to a squad car, right? And it's like, and I remember, and one thing I didn't like is I remember as I was going by, seeing Rory Wilson's girlfriend on her stomach. Now, look, April and I didn't like each other, that's true. But she was 8 months pregnant, and seeing her on her belly on the ground did not make me happy. But they take me out to the squad car, and I have no idea what's going on. I'm literally sitting out, do you guys have a warrant? Am I being detained? Am I arrested? I mean, the whole thing. I have no idea why I'm being taken out to the squad car or why even any of this is happening, right? I mean, but based on what the detectives told me that had showed up there a few days earlier, I guess, based on what they told me, I thought it was over drugs. I mean, I thought maybe, they were there for drugs or something, I didn't know. But I just know that, man, they came in, they're coming in like that. They've got a reason, if they're coming in like that. And, so I'm way confused at this point. I have no idea what's going on. And I'm sitting in the back of the squad car, and they left me out there for a while, and I'm still, I have no idea. And eventually somebody got in the driver's seat. I don't remember who it was, but somebody gets in the driver's seat, and I'm literally I'm asking them a bunch of questions. I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And so, eventually they tell me they want to take me down to the station. And I'm like, well, look, I don't have a shirt on. I don't have shoes on. I don't even know what this is over. I'm like, am I being arrested? Any of that stuff, right? And no, it ends up, it actually is Detective Pitcher. He goes and he gets me a shirt. It's like a camouflage shirt, but he gets it from David Gross's room, right? And he brings it down, so I at least have a shirt on, right? And so they take me down to the station, right? And when they take me down the station, I'm trying, because again, this is, it's pretty traumatic. I'm not gonna say it's not. It's pretty traumatic when that kind of stuff happens. But anyway, not that I've been through it, I've been through it a bunch of times, but I mean, like I said, I'm lucky I didn't get shot going down the stairs. Anyway, so bottom line is they take me into the station. And when they take me in the station, let's see, I don't remember who it was that brought me in. I know they bring me in and they put me in an interrogation room, right? And when they first start talking to me, I'm like, again, I'm wondering why I'm here.
I'm objecting to his testifying to his statements made back then.
I just said I was wondering why. I'm telling you my thought,
I understand, but in terms of the statements that you made at that time, I would sustain the objection.
Are you talking about what I would tell the police?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I'll leave that out then. I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I'll leave that part of the story out. Anyway, so I go into the interrogation room, and at first, they're questioning me, and I'm thinking at the time, okay, remember I said I thought it was over drugs, right? So, and they're asking me these questions, and first that's what I thought they were, again, they're asking me because they want to know information, right? So, but then it comes around to the murder, somewhere's in there, right? And they start asking me questions about it. And again, I'm thinking, again, okay, they asked me what I knew about it, that kind of stuff. I'm sorry, I don't want to testify to what they asked me. But but at the time I remember thinking, they just wanted information from me, right? They just want to know what I know, what I've heard, that kind of thing. But somewhere along the lines in there, and it became very clear they thought I had something to do with this, right? And I remember. Oh, wait a second, because I'm forgetting about a part here. They take me out of the interrogation room at some point, and they take me down. They put me in a squad car, right? And I'm still in handcuffs, right? So I'm still in handcuffs. But they put me in the squad car, and they leave me down in the squad car for, I don't know how long. It had to be like an hour. I have no idea, But I was in the squad car, and then they bring me back up, and they ask me a bunch more questions, right? And like I said, now it's I'm getting this feeling. I'm like, okay, wait a second. They're not asking me because they think, because they just want information. They think I had something to do with this thing, right? And at the time I remember, that they went to that direction. And again, I'm very adamant. I get very adamant once I realize this. I'm like, oh no, but yeah. So I don't know if I can testify to what I said, but I remember, saying it to them. I was like,
Objection to what he said.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, and I won't say what I said then. But I will say this. I was very adamant about, not having anything to do with it. So eventually it gets down to the point where I've been interrogated all night over this thing. And it got to a point, I was like, look, I'm like, are you going to arrest me? Are you actually going to arrest me? Or am I free to go? Can I get, look, I'm tired of being here. I'm tired of saying the same, giving these answers. Can I go home, or are you going to arrest me for this thing? And they let me go, right? And not only did they let me go, the bad part about that is they made me walk home. And I remember the directive was to check out the cameras, how many cameras there were, right? And and they did give me, I'll give them this, they gave me slides, because remember I told you I didn't have any shoes. They gave me slides, right? Was it the stuff they use in jail, the slides, right? Kind of like flip-flops. Anyway, so they give me those and send me on my way. So now I got to walk all the way home, which, okay, it's a little distance, And so I walked there, and I probably got there, I don't know, I probably got there like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. It was early in the morning, and I've been there all night, right? And when I get there, the door is locked, and as we've said, I didn't have a key, right? So, but my stuff is still in there. Now I'm freaked out. I gotta tell you, I'm freaked out, because okay, when they, again, that I've never had that happen, right? So I'm freaked out about the thing. And when, I get there, the door's locked, and I remember I had to throw rocks up at the windows to finally get Travis to come down and open the door, right? So he comes down, he opens up the door, and I tell him what happened. I was like, I just tell him what happened to me. I was like, I can't believe it, I can't believe they took me down there, blah, 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 this, that, and that, right? So anyway, but I don't want to stay there. I don't want to stay there. I'm like, okay, this is way more than this is way more than I want, right? So I get my stuff together, and I literally grab all my stuff, and I tell CJ Michelle. I called up CJ Michelle, and I was like, look, look, it's all good, you guys, man, but I can't stay here. You know what I'm saying? I can't stay here anymore. And I remember them asking me if I would at least grab, like, they had family photos and pictures of kids and stuff like that. And they asked me if I would grab that and take it down to Burger King and drop it off there, right? And I was like, yes, I can at least do that for you, So I grabbed a bunch of the pictures, man, from their room, and I tried to grab, anything, that could be of value or sentimental value to them, right? Because now I'm leaving, and I'm not staying there. And so, yeah, I grab all that. I put it into a bag for them, and I grab my stuff, and I head on out, and I go ahead. And this is, I don't know, it's I don't remember what time of day it is. I know it's morning, like I said, I got there probably like 5, 6 o'clock, so I don't remember how long it took them to open the door or anything like that. But I did grab, some stuff, dropped it off at Burger King, and I do remember I called 2 people that day. I called my friend Cliff, and I called my one of my brothers, Jeff. You know, he's not blood related brother, but he is my brother in every sense. But yes, so I go ahead and I call them because I'm freaked out, right? Because I knew when they let me go, I knew that, okay, they let me go, but I got the distinct impression that, man, you know, no, they thought I had something to do with this, and they were, you know, this was not going to be the last time that, you know, they talked to me about this. And, you know, I was scared. I'm going to tell you, I mean, straight up, I was scared. You know, I didn't know what was going on, and I was like, and you know, I can't explain to anybody, you know, the feeling, but I was scared. So that's why I called them up, because I was like, look, man, everything everything.
Objection to what he was telling these people?
Oh, I'm talking about my kid.
All right.
But anyway, in my mind at that point, yeah, I mean, everything was telling me, man, it's like, you need to get out of here, right? I mean, these people, man, you know, they think you had something to do with this, and but then, you know, the other side of me is going, if I take off, they're going to think I did it, you know. So I mean, I have this little war going on in my head, and anyway, so I went from Burger King and I started walking down towards Key West, right? You know, because there's that little bridge and, you know, park and stuff there. And I remember as I came across the bridge, there was a couple guys there, and they're drinking off of, they're drinking off of a liter of Skull or whatever, you know, it's the rock gut vodka. And at that point, I was like, yeah, I need one. I was like, you know, you know, so I sat there with them, took a couple hits off that, and I eventually end up down at McDonald's, right? And when I get down to McDonald's, and then I'm still sketched out. I'm sketched out about the whole thing. And I don't know what to do, to be honest. I just don't know what to do. It's like, man, it's like I've never found myself in this position before. I don't know what to do. So anyway, so I get on, you know, because I went to McDonald's because they have free Wi-Fi there, right? So I could get on my laptop, because I always had a laptop in my backpack, right? So, you know, I get on my laptop, and I'm not even sure what I'm doing, to be honest. I really wasn't sure on what I was doing at that point. I didn't know. So anyway, but that's when Paula shows up. And Paula and I, you know, we weren't friends, right? But we knew each other. It's like, it's one of those things, you know, small island, and, you know, and we know who lives in the neighborhood. We know who lives on the island. You know, it's like you run into each other. Hey, you know, how you doing? How's it going? You know, that kind of thing. But I don't know that much about her. You know what I mean? You know, so anyway, so I run into Paula, and I remember, because I was feeling so bad and so sorry for myself for, man, being interrogated, you know, for overnight, you know, being interrogated for this thing all night, and I'm scared, and I'm feeling sorry for myself, I guess, right? And I remember seeing Paula, and she had a bandage on her neck from the night, right? And I remember seeing her, and I was just like, and all of a sudden I felt like such a, I mean, I'm not trying to curse, I guess, but I felt really bad, right? Because I was like, here I am feeling sorry for myself, and then I see her, right? And she's bruised up, and she has the thing on her neck, and it's like, and when, you know, and I told her what happened to me. I told her that they took me down to the station. I told her, you know, what happened, and the thing is Paula, you know, yes, she did cry, and yes, she did, you know, cry on my shoulder, and, you know, and I told you I felt horrible, because it was just like, it's like, again, here I am feeling bad because they grilled me all night, and then I saw and heard from her experience, right? And no, I just felt bad about it. It's like, okay, you know, here I am again. I guess it's the somebody always has something worse thing, you know. There's always
Objection to the self-serving statements, Judge.
All right. I'll overrule the objection. You
Thank
can
you, Your
continue.
Anyway, so it was definitely, again, while I was still not certain about what was going to happen here, you know, but it definitely put me in a different mindset to see her, right? And but anyway, so after I saw her, I remember I went back to COTS, because now I'm going to COTS, and I'm, you know, not going back to the warehouse. I don't want nothing to do with it, right? So I go back to COTS, and, you know, they had again another little Thanksgiving dinner thing there, and, you know, I had some of that, you know, whatever. And then I went into where the bunk is, and this is when I get arrested, right? And when I got arrested, you know, because, you know, Detective Pitcher was the, you know, one of the ones who talked to me when they were doing their interviews. And I remember him leading the charge, but there was a good amount of officers, and they were coming in from both sides. And I remember looking up at him and I was like, I guess we're not talking now, are we? And he's like, no. And so anyway, so they arrest me and they take me over to the jail, right? And and the whole time I'm kind of flipping, and I'm like, literally, like, I'm like telling them I didn't have anything to do with this, and you know, and so I'm telling them this stuff, and somewhere along the lines I get told that it's about witness tampering, right? And I'm like, and I thought it was over Paula. I thought it was because I talked to her at McDonald's. And I was like, nobody told me I couldn't talk to her, right? But that's not what it ends up being about, and I won't testify as to what it was because I think that would Mr. Mansfield probably object to it. But at the same time, so you know, so I'm thinking, you know, again, and my head is spinning again. And okay, so now I'm in jail, and they take me, and they literally, okay, the jail has the elevator goes up. They take me in. I remember getting booked, you know, kind of booked in, whatever the hell, you know, whatever that is, where they check in, whatever, right? But they do that, and this is, you know, I'm not going to say I haven't been to jail before. I've been to Key West jail one other time, and it was for misdemeanors, right? It was boat charges. You know, it was nothing. I mean, I can't say it was nothing, but you know, it was misdemeanors. But anyway, so thing is they take me right to the back, right, and they put down all these brown paper bags, and there's a bunch of guards around me, and they literally make me drop all my clothes right down the bag. And they put me in the black and white stripes, and then they put me in chains, head to toe. I mean, chains, you know, like chains. And they take me right to solitary, right? Now, again, I've been to jail before, right? Never for anything close to this. And the thing is, and I've never had an experience like it, you know, ever. But they take me there, they put me in solitary. And my mind is spinning. I can't even explain to you guys what it's like. You know, it's like, I just didn't know. Look, I was a normal guy a second ago, and now I'm sitting in a jail cell. And I'm, you know, being put in chains, and man, everybody's, you know, people are telling me I'm a murderer, you know. And so I'm in there, and I'm in the solitary. And solitary is weird. It's 23 hours.
Objection to the relevance of solitary.
Well, I'm just telling the story. I mean, look, you can tell me where to stop if you want.
Well, I sustain that objection.
Yeah, I mean, okay. And I'm not exactly sure what is relevant of anything. I'm just telling the story.
I understand, Mr. Tucker, but...
Anyway, so yeah, I go to jail, and, you know, over the course of time, I mean, you know, it's, you know, I guess it's not really relevant as far as now. I meet my wife. I shouldn't say meet my wife. I've known her since we were kids, but she was the first person to contact me. You know, she was the first person to contact me when I got there, and I think it was like day 7. And I was surprised. I was really surprised because we hadn't seen each other in 33 years. You know, and
Your wife hadn't seen you in 33 years?
But anyway, the thing is so yeah, you know, she comes, and by this point, you know, I still didn't have a lawyer. I was still in solitary. I still don't know why I'm there. You know, I have no idea why I'm there, really. I mean, I know what they're saying. I don't know.
Objection, Judge, to this.
I just.
Okay.
We're rambling here. It's
Well,
not
I don't, rambling, but I'm not sure how much what we're hearing here is not relevant, so...
Would you like me to?
Well, if we'd like a little direction, we can excuse the jurors, or...
Yeah, I'll take direction.
That's all right. We'll keep going.
Yeah, I'll take direction. I mean,
Well,
you know, it's like, I just don't know what.
I understand.
Where you want me to
I'm
go?
just suggesting that it would be prudent, in my view, for just a moment or two to excuse the jurors, and we'll get back to you shortly.
The fact that the prosecutor doesn't want him to tell the story and keeps interrupting him, and he says that he's amenable to direction and stuff like that, I think will play well to the jury, right? Because the prosecutor's the one interfering with the story, and like, yeah, we don't want to hear that story. We don't want you to tell that part. And he is a guy on his own, and he seems amenable. He doesn't fight the judge. He seems amenable to when the judge corrects him. Like, yeah, I'm willing to accept direction, so Yeah, I think it might play well to the judge, Gus. I think as a jury, I think it's good.
Have a seat. So
Judge, my-
I just wanted to excuse the jurors. I mean, not finding fault. Mr. Tucker has, certainly comported himself well on the witness stand. It's just that when you start to get into the circumstances of incarceration, of reuniting with ultimately his wife and the like, you objected. That's objectionable.
Yes, Judge, it is objectionable. He's courting sympathy from the jury,
Well-
trying to tell them how horrible
Shut up.
solitary is. I mean, it's not relevant information.
I understand. I agree with you. I'm not sure if he's intentionally trying to do that. I didn't get that impression. I got the impression he was telling his story. And I didn't attribute any ill motive. I understand the potential effect that it could have. That's why I sustained your objection, and it's why I excused the jurors to try to give some direction so we don't have to keep going back and forth.
Very well.
So,
I mean,
Your
I
Honor.
understand he's being allowed to testify in the narrative, but, getting into how devastating this was for him and all the thought process, I mean, what's the
Shut
purpose
up.
other than a court?
Your Honor, I mean,
go
if I
ahead.
may.
Go ahead.
Look, you got to understand, this was an extremely emotional experience, and it's like when I'm trying to remember this, it is hard for me. This was not something pleasant. It wasn't something cool.
Of course not.
And it's hard for me to bring it up and not bring, not have emotions about it.
I
I'm sorry.
understand that. I mean, I
sorry.
think for most, the vast majority of human beings, it would be extremely traumatic, devastating, life-altering, whatever strong words you want to use to experience that. And I get it. And I think I've given quite a bit of leeway in terms of you, quote-unquote, telling your story. But at this particular point,
Yeah, I tell you what, man. I don't know. The prosecutor is technically right, but this is why the judge is a judge, right? Because the judge has to judge, and I think as a judge on this set of circumstances, I'd be strongly inclined to tell the prosecutor to shut his face. I'm like, yes, you're technically right under the rules of evidence, but it's a pro se, and we do give pro ses a little bit of additional latitude, and he's telling a story. So why don't you sit the hell down? And you can cross one cross, I'd be strongly tempted to tell him to shut his face. So, yeah. If he was represented by a lawyer, I'd obviously go with the prosecutor, but he's not. So, and because he's not represented by a lawyer, I'm strongly inclined to tell the prosecutor to shut his damn mouth hole.
I'm not sure how much else is relevant.
Yeah, I would ask the same thing. I bet. What else would you like me to go into? I mean, how far back do you want me to go? I mean, I did miss the one in there. There is the one where I go to Metro PCS. I haven't talked about that because that is one of the things that got me arrested.
Well,
So
I
don't know what you want to know.
I can't tell you what I would like you to go into or wouldn't like you to go into. The only thing I can say is that I feel I've granted quite a bit of leeway, but in terms of the building up to the event, if you will, the aftermath, your experience with law enforcement, your experience being arrested, but how much, I don't think there's much room for any.
Yeah, I appreciate the 10th Circuit says pro ses have to be held to the same standard. I'm not sure what they said. First of all, Florida's not in the 10th Circuit, it's in the 11th, so there's that. Second of all, I'm not sure if that's true as a matter of federal law or as a matter of state law, because the 10th Circuit might be applying federal law as opposed to speaking of state. And third of all, it's still a judgment call at the end of the day. So, yeah, I mean, it is not atypical, even for federal judges, to give pro ses a little bit of extra flexibility and latitude. Because it's just the reality of the thing. Sometimes they bend a little bit to help them out. So, I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. Let me put it to you this way. If the judge gives the pro se a little bit of extra flexibility, I seriously doubt a court of appeals is going to be like, yeah, you should have done that. I mean, there's obviously a line somewhere, but, yeah.
More of that unless there's
a couple
something that you're going to say was seized from you, or you're going to try to explain away some statement that you made?
No, Your Honor, but there are a couple of important things that I actually forgot to tell the jury at this point. Not anything. I don't think it's going to take very long. It's just a couple of things as I'm going through this. I mean, I forgot to tell them about Metro PCS because to me it really didn't mean anything at the time.
Okay.
But it does later, you know.
Okay.
So
Well, that's factual in nature, but, and I'm not saying
But I mean,
solitary isn't factual, but that's really not relevant to the proof or the defense. That's just the, what should we say, the fallout of being arrested. It doesn't go to the elements of the crime or a defense.
No,
right?
no, it doesn't, Your Honor. It's just thinking about it. It's just it was like, okay, I didn't know where to end there, and I can end that right there. That's
I
fine.
understand that, and you did kind of indicate amenability to seeking some sort of direction, and that's why I excuse the jurors to try to do so.
Thank you.
So I think we've
Yeah, I think we've gone
given as much of
far.
that as we
Yeah.
can in terms of direction, and so
I'd say there's a couple more pieces, and that's
Okay.
it. Just
All
to
right.
make sure that, you know, again, they get the full picture here.
I understand that. But so let's bring them in, please.
I think the prosecutor looks more like an ass. I don't know. Tubby prosecutor over here isn't ingratiating himself to me. Between the pro se and the prosecutor, I have to say the pro se is more charismatic, at least to me. So I was like, yeah, this guy looks just like a bit of an asshole. I understand the objection, but man, I don't know. You gotta pick your spots, man.
All jurors present in the courtroom, Your Honor.
Thank you. Please be seated, everyone. Welcome back, members of the jury. The defendant remains on the witness stand and is going to continue his direct testimony. So you can proceed.
Okay, and I was just you know, look, I think we agreed that, you know, stopping where, you know, the story where, you know, that part is probably a good idea. But there were a couple of things I forgot in there that happened along the way. I go at one point, and this is before I get arrested. I go to Metro PCS, and I'm going to pay my phone bill. Right, that's all I'm going. I'm going over there, and I'm going to go over to Burger King and get something to eat. And I remember Roy Wilson. You know, he's outside of he's outside the warehouse. And I just happened to be going out, and you know, he asked if he could walk with me. Right, I'm like, okay. You know, again, at this point I don't know anything, so it's like I'm like, okay. So we walk over there, and this becomes something later. But you know, I didn't think of anything of it at the time. You know, but we go over there, and I pay my phone bill, and you know, but this is before the raid. You know, and it becomes something later. But the thing is you know, that I just figured that had to be in there just because, again, it does become part of the story. So does, you know, the whole Fantasy Fest thing, that becomes part of the story too. Because, you know, I guess I can't testify to what those pieces are. I guess I'll save that for my close. But I felt it necessary to tell you about that trip. And then I just want to make sure that we've got everything here. Because I don't think there's anything else I can remember from the time period that's actually relevant to the situation. Now, I can tell you this, because somebody else asked me this not too long ago. And they asked me if I had ever been to the Treehouse before, right? And yes, I've been to the Treehouse 3 times in my life, right? I was there once because when I first got back to Key West, right? I got back and I was coming from Arizona, right? And I get back to Key West, and yeah, rents here are high. Everybody knows that, right? And I saw an ad in the paper, I want to say. I'm pretty sure that's how it happened. But it was Matt. And it's the only time I've ever met the victim, right? It's the only time. And he was renting out the flats on the Treehouse, right, for $350 a month, if I remember correctly. And, you know, and the thing is I go there to check it out because, like I said, I'm pretty sure it was an ad in the paper or something like that, right? But I go there and, because I'm looking for a place to stay. I just got back, right? So I'm looking for a place to stay. And when I got there, I was like, okay, it's these flats on the treehouse, and it's built up. It's like a deck on a deck on a deck, I guess. And
Wait, so it was a multi-tiered thing at the treehouse? Is that what he's saying? Because I know about the warehouse. Is he saying that the treehouse was actually a multi-deck structure? Deck on top of a deck on top of a deck? It was a multi-tiered system on top of an RV? Is that what he just said? We are hillbillying this up, man. We are hillbillying the shit out of this. We got decks on top of decks on top of decks on top of an RV. Wow. Okay. I just assumed it was the one, but no, we got a multi-tier system, multi-tier club area. Level 1, we've got a DJ. Level 2, we got a piano bar. Level 3, moonlight dance. Oh my word. Okay, all right.
I'm looking at that, and then for the bathroom facilities, it was like a trailer in the back, and it was like a caved-in roof, if I remember correctly, and there's a toilet in there, nothing else, right? And I'm like, for $350 a month, I ain't doing it, right? I'm just not doing it, right? But not. That's not to say that Matt was actually a nice guy. I mean, that's the only time I've ever met him, and he was a nice guy. He was, that's about all. I mean, like I said, I didn't get to know him or anything like that, but he showed me around, showed me what he had, and I just said no. That's all it was. And the other 2 times I was there was at Todd O'Quinn. I knew Todd O'Quinn, and Todd O'Quinn. We went to the bar a couple times. Went down to the Hogfish, and I had a little bit too much to drink or whatever, and I couldn't get all the way back to either Cots or I stayed at a couple of different places, but yeah. And I couldn't make it all the way back because, again, remember, this is after the storm. I'm still trying to rebuild. And so anyway, I remember staying there two nights. Like there's 2 different times, but different times, not 2 nights in a row, but 2 different time periods. And just because I couldn't make it back. And I remember one night, I don't know if Paula remembers, but I remember one night she woke me up yelling at me. But yeah, and it's like, but the thing is so yeah, those are the only 3 times that I've been to the Treehouse. And let's see, and then what was the other one? There was something else somebody asked me not too long ago, and I think it's kind of relevant. Trying to remember. It's like, because yeah, that takes care of that, but I'm trying to remember here. Oh no, somebody asked me if I knew Matt, and like I said, I've already answered that question. It was, I met him once, As far as anything else, I'm trying to think of anything else that you guys need to know. I don't know. I guess Mr. Mansfield can remind me now. I guess I'll go ahead and turn it over to Cross.
Okay, thank you. Is there any cross-examination?
Yes, Judge.
I'm sure there is.
So, Mr. Tucker, your story in front of this jury today is you were drunk that day.
Yep.
Plastered.
Yep.
You were drinking highballs, red balls, what you call them?
Fireball.
Fireballs. What's a fireball?
I'm
Really?
surprised you don't know, but okay.
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
No, you're wrong. I was getting ready. I'm answering your question. Fireball is it's a whiskey. It's cinnamon whiskey. It's very popular. That's why I said I'm surprised.
And that's what you drank. That's what you were drinking the day that this all happened.
Yes, sir.
Got so drunk you went back to the warehouse, went upstairs, fell asleep,
Knocked out.
knocked out.
Yep.
Now you were at the warehouse. You said you had been there on and off, right?
Well, not necessarily on and off. I mean, I actually staying there. I think there was only 2 times. There was during the hurricane, and then there was the time period. For CJ and Michelle. Other than that, I knew a couple people who lived there, and yes, man, I'd stop by there every once in a while.
So you were basically house sitting for CJ and Michelle.
Yes, sir.
But this is not a apartment building, right? This is like a flop house. People are renting renting rooms or hanging out in rooms?
I wouldn't call it that. And the thing is, because that's a fairly derogatory term, and
Okay,
I wouldn't say
the question's
that.
very simple. It's not a rentable apartment building where you rent rooms.
Okay, to put it this way, was the landlord doing something illegal? Sure. Did everybody else know that they
Not the
weren't supposed to
question,
be there?
Mr. Tucker.
Well, I don't know what you're asking.
The question is very specific.
Okay, be
Okay,
specific.
it's not a place where you rent apartments. Is that correct?
Yes, it is, because they had apartments there for rent.
Okay. There were actual legitimate apartments for rent in this
They're
warehouse.
literally- and that's why I was answering your question the way I did. Legitimate? No, the landlord was not. He was he's subletting this thing, and he built apartments in it.
So you were
Now-
house sitting for your friends, right?
Yes.
And that's the only reason you were even staying at the
Lol. He just told the district attorney on the issue. Like, he says, well, is it legitimate? Well, that's why I answered the question the way you did. It's like you said you didn't want me to answer, but you just asked me if it was legitimate. No, it wasn't legitimate, but there were individual apartments. Yeah. So, gee, he just won that cross-examination point with the district attorney. You're my hero, man.
place at that point in time.
Yes.
But you didn't have another place to live, right? You said
No, I mean, the
house.
thing is, I was actually saving up for a boat. I actually had money in my pocket.
Okay, I didn't ask you about money in your pocket. You were actually staying at a homeless shelter known as Cops.
Yes,
Is that
I was.
correct?
Yes, I was.
All right. So you didn't have a permanent home,
No.
and you did your share of partying during this time,
Yes.
right? You said it was Fantasy Fest, and this
Yep.
is what you do at Fantasy Fest. You tie one on for a couple of weeks. You said, right?
Oh, yeah. Around Fantasy Fest time? Yeah, of course.
It goes on for a while, right?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Again, yeah, probably every Fantasy Fest I've ever been to.
Judgment approach.
Yes.
Showing what's been previously marked as whiskey for identification. You recognize that?
Sure do.
And what is that?
That would be me.
And is that how you looked at back in November?
It sure is.
Judge seek to move in, W?
Is there any objection?
No, Your Honor. I'm just wondering what the relevance of what I looked like back then. But,
I mean, if there's an objection.
no,
whether
it's
what-
okay. We can go ahead and put it in.
All right, so admit as dates next in order.
18.
Thank you, Ms. Violet. So this is how you looked back in 2017, right? Pretty full goatee.
Oh, yeah. Big full goatee.
Big full goatee, right? Yep. Kind of thing that would be hard to cover if you were putting a mask on that stopped at the chin, right?
I wouldn't say that. I actually wouldn't say that.
Wouldn't
because
agree with
I
that?
mean, again, that would be speculation, so I'll object.
Okay, so you don't agree that it would be hard to cover if you just had a simple face mask?
I'm not going to agree to that at all. Because, man, again, I'm not saying
Certainly
it
easier
would.
to-
I'm not saying it wouldn't.
Certainly easier to cover with a neck gaiter, right? You pull the neck gaiter up, it covers the mouth, the chin, everything.
The thing is here's the thing: is that whole neck gaiter thing. I didn't know what one was until after I heard your client say it. Or
Didn't
I
know
should
what a
say
neck
not
gaiter
your
was.
client, but whatever.
Didn't know what a neck gaiter was.
No, I didn't actually. To be honest.
All right, so now you're living at this warehouse. You know Rory Wilson, don't you?
Yes, I do.
You guys are hanging out now and then, right?
Yeah, probably. I
Partying
like I said,
together?
I don't know. Like again, I didn't go over there all the time because April and I did not get along. So, I'm not trying to hang out with her too much.
April didn't like you.
No, she did not.
You didn't like her.
No, I did not, actually. Now, did we hang out sometimes? Sure. And I remember there's times we did party. That was like, I remember one time we went downtown, Rory Wilson. And because, again, here's the thing is I remember this during the hurricane. They had, was it the hogfish? They were
Mr.
getting-
Tucker, I'm going to cut you off, sir. There's no question pending. Did you hang out socially or not with April Walker and Rory Wilson?
No, April Walker, I tried not to. And I'm not saying she didn't come looking for Rory a couple times, but yeah, I tried not to. But Rory Wilson, yes, I did hang out with him on a few occasions.
And you heard that
Excuse me
out.
one second. Is that exhibit being published, or are you going to take it back to the...
Oh, I've already published it, Judge. I already
Okay, so we're going to...
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You didn't ask for permission to publish. Jackass.
on the podium, or let's bring it to the
Okay.
clerk. Thank you.
Okay, so, Mr. Tucker, so you heard the testimony, right? You heard that there was an allegation that you threatened April Walker.
Oh, I've heard that testimony, but that testimony wasn't true.
So you didn't threaten
Oh, no.
Wilson's pregnant 9 months
no.
pregnant girlfriend.
Oh, no.
You
No,
actually
no, no.
felt bad for her because she was put on the ground during the raid.
Yes, I did. And man, look, even if I don't like somebody, again, seeing them on the ground in that position when she's 8 months pregnant, yes, that's not cool. That's bottom line. I didn't like her, but that doesn't mean you put her on the ground in that position.
Now, you testified that you went up to CVS with Roy Wilson that night.
No, I did not.
When did you and Roy Wilson go to CVS for you
To tell
to
you the honest
smoke?
truth, that was put to me by investigators. They said that, but again, I told you I was drunk that day, and I'm sitting there and I tried to remember it, and man, I'm sitting there going, I don't remember doing that.
But you just testified to this jury that you went to CVS to get cigarettes.
Oh, I went to
wasn't it?
Tom Thumb
Tom
to get
Thumb, okay.
cigarettes, and it wasn't
Tom
with
Thumb.
Roy Wilson. It was with Travis.
With Travis.
Right.
You and Travis went. Let's
So
talk
let's
about
get the
Travis.
story straight.
You and
Prosecutor got it wrong. Tried to impeach him and he got it wrong. It's like, when did you go to CVS? I never said that. The investigator said I went to CVS, but I was drunk. You told this jury you went to CVS. No, I went to a different place. Were you not paying attention? Well, let's talk about something else. The juror he tries to scramble around. Okay, 2 wins for the pro se. 2 wins for the pro se over the prosecutor. The prosecutor is sucking this. He's doing horrible. He's getting his ass handed to him. Jesus.
Travis were acquaintances, right?
Yes, we were acquaintances.
Okay. Travis was staying at the warehouse as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Matter of fact, you and Travis were both staying upstairs in the warehouse, right?
Yeah, when I was staying in CJ and Michelle's room, yes.
Travis was in another room upstairs.
Yes, he was upstairs. But you got to remember, he also went to jail. So, I mean, he wasn't there for a second. So,
Right? But he came back about a week later, right?
to be honest, I don't remember how long it was. I know I was at work when he went to jail.
Let me ask you, Mr. Tucker, was Travis there the day of the raid?
That's the thing is, he wasn't there in the beginning, right? Because, man, he wasn't there.
Was he there when they took you down and put you in the police car?
No, he wasn't there for that.
Was he there when they took
He
you
wasn't
off
there
to-
for that part of it. At least not that I know of, right?
Was he there when
wasn't
they took you off to jail?
Was he there when no? So when I went to jail, I was at Cots, and when I went to jail, I wasn't. They didn't grab me from the warehouse. They grabbed me from Cots.
The night of the raid, they didn't take you down and then let you go?
They did take me down and let me go, but that wasn't taking me to jail. That was taking me down and interrogating me all night.
Okay, so the night.
Number 3 for them. Number 3. It's like, yeah, he wasn't there when they took you to jail. I wasn't taken to jail. I was taken down for interrogation. I wasn't taken to jail. Wow. That when the pro se is sharper than you. Yeah, was he around when you took him to jail? I wasn't taken to jail. I was taken for questioning and then they let me go. Wow. 3 wins for the pro se. This prosecutor probably needs to work on his resume.
Night they took you down to interrogate you. Was Travis there when you guys left the warehouse to go down and be
Hold on,
interrogated?
hold on. Let me make sure I'm hearing this correctly. What? Please repeat the question.
The night of the raid,
Right, gotcha.
when they took you down, not to jail, but to question you.
Right, gotcha.
Was Travis at the warehouse when you guys left to go to the police station?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know.
And how did you get to the police station that night?
I
They
got
took you?
there in a squad car in handcuffs.
Okay. Now, let's see. You said that while you were in this, after you got arrested, you were in jail and you got reacquainted with an old high school friend of yours.
I thought that wasn't relevant.
You just testified to it, sir.
I thought that wasn't relevant.
Okay, well, in that case, yes, I did.
I'm going to ask you, just answer the questions if you could.
Yeah.
And if there's a relevant objection, you can make it.
Thank you.
But you don't need to question me.
Okay.
You said you were in jail.
Yes.
And you got reacquainted with this high
Yes.
school wife or girlfriend of yours who became your wife.
Well, actually, again, she wasn't my high school girlfriend. She wasn't, she was a friend that I knew from when I was 14 years old. And yes, I hadn't seen her in 33 years.
And you guys ended up getting married, right?
Yes, we did.
And she is actually very wealthy, isn't she?
Multimillionaires.
I beg your pardon?
Multimillionaires.
And
Wow. The grammar. Even I wouldn't make that distinction. Wow. Multi-million heiress instead of a multi-millionaire because it's a woman. He said multi-million heiress. Woof. Yeah, I like this guy, man. Even I would say that. Man, I like this guy. This guy's great.
You guys are you married today to her?
Yes, I am.
Going beyond, I'm sorry, but I cut him off of your objection, and
Okay, Judge, well, he just testified about his wife.
he mentioned it, and you touched upon within the scope, but I believe
Okay.
this is beyond the scope.
I have no
and
problem
it's-
talking about my wife.
Okay.
I understand, but I do.
All right, so now,
So the judge is now objecting because it's like outside the scope. So whether to protect his own interest or otherwise, the judge, he's like, I don't object. Well, the judge says I do. Fair enough. I mean, it is outside the scope. He's making the judge basically making his own objection sua sponte, but fine. Judge is right. It's outside the scope. So, yeah, works for me. I think partially it's because if you reopen the scope, right? If you're stupid enough to reopen the scope, that means he gets to get back on redirect and say the things you wouldn't let him say the first time because you've expanded the scope. So I'm not sure who he's trying to protect here. I'm not sure if he's trying to protect the defendant or the prosecutor or the court or prevent confusion of the jury. I just think it's hilarious.
you're not in jail the entire time waiting for your trial, right?
No, that's not true. I was in jail for 2 years.
And then you actually got out pending your trial.
$2 million bond.
Let's talk about Paula, your relationship with Paula Belmont.
Okay.
You just testified that you weren't great friends in the beginning. You just kind of knew of each other, right?
That is true.
Okay, I am actually slightly confused at this point because if he's married to this multi-millionairess, and presumably the multi-millionairess is the one that posted the $2 million bond, now I'm confused again. Why does the wife not want to provide him the best lawyers known to mankind? Is she not willing to pay for that? I'm confused. I'm a little bit confused here. If he's married to her and they like each other and she posted the bond because he doesn't have $2 million, then why is he his own lawyer? I'm very confused. Does anyone know the answer to the question I'm asking? They're married now, not then. I'm still back to my previous question. I'm not sure if that's true. I'm still confused. Look up, Kurt. I'm asking you to see if you know. If you know the answer to the question I'm asking, you could just tell me. That'd be helpful. Scroll up to your @ Yeah. Is it ego? Could he have better? I don't know what's going on here. Tony and Ariel answered. Then why'd you ask me to look up at your @ Because that's what you said me to do. You said scroll up to my @ so I looked at what you said. Why don't you tell me to look up at Tony's @ Okay. He didn't want the lawyers according to his wife? Why not? That seems, yeah, that's weird. He just didn't want the lawyers? That seems weird. Okay. All right. Fair. I guess. All right.
You testified you'd never been to the Treehouse, but that's not accurate, right? Because you testified you'd actually been there 3 times.
I don't remember her ever testifying to that, but she may not have remembered it. It was one time. That's it.
I thought you said 3 times. You'd been
No,
there.
I've been there 3 times, but Paula, and she woke me up one time yelling at me. You know,
Okay.
because, man, I wasn't supposed to be there, apparently. I don't know. But, man, the thing is, she woke me up and she was yelling at me. I don't even know if she remembers it.
And now, describe your relationship with Paula today.
Paula's one of my best friends.
One of your best friends.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to show you what's been previously marked for identification.
Yeah, so it's that the lawyers that he initially had wouldn't present the story his way. Surely we could have found good lawyers that would have gone with him. I mean, I appreciate that I appreciate the lawyer making the judgment call of I don't want to go about that way. I don't think that's the right way to go. But he seems like he's doing fine. So I'm not sure why we couldn't find a lawyer who would go this way. It doesn't feel like it's inherently absurd. It doesn't feel like something that no reasonable lawyer would do. So maybe the lawyers he was initially had didn't feel like doing it that way, but why we couldn't find, top shelf white shoe lawyers who would be more in line with his ideas is beyond me. The client sets the goal, the lawyer sets the means, but the client can fire the lawyer. And if he has endless money, then why not just find a lawyer who's more in line? I'm confused. They were always pushing pleas. And then why not just find better lawyers? Why not find different lawyers? I'm very, very confused. I'm very confused. I'm not blaming the lawyers he had, because I'm not in a position to blame the lawyers he had. Maybe they thought that was the best way to go. Maybe they thought that was correct. So I'm not blaming the lawyers, but if he has endless money, why can't we find top shelf lawyers who will be more in line with him? That seems odd.
Location is a deposit, 2 photos, Sierra 1 and 2. Do you recognize these photos?
I sure do.
And what do they depict?
They depict me and Paula at the hospital when I'm trying to make her feel better and making funny faces at the camera.
When were these shots taken?
Very recently.
Judge, at this time, it's either move in states Exhibit S for identification.
Any objection?
Nope.
All right, admit S,
19A and B.
all right.
He didn't want to spend any more money, but it's not his money, right? It's the wife's money. The wife has all the money. Yeah. The wife apparently is the person who founded CrossFit. The wife is rich. So she's got money. So it wasn't his money, man. I don't know. That being said, he's still doing great, though. And the prosecutor's sucking ass. So
you said these were taken recently, like in the last 2 weeks?
Actually, you want to know exactly which day? I think I can remember.
Sure, go ahead.
It was the day that I actually, went over there to check on her because she said, she said that, she was, her doctor said that it had taken it worse. It was the day before I came in here and asked for the motion.
he wrote something about in the motion he filed after the attorneys withdrew. I'd love to read that. So if you know where I can find it, if he wrote in a formal court pleading why he was doing this, if you put it in writing, I'd love to read that. So if anyone happens to know where I can find a copy of this mysterious document, you can help me chase it down, because that would be helpful. It's probably on the Discord somewhere where all the true crime people hang out. So maybe I'll try to search for it in the background. CrossFit says she never had anything to do with the company and she never got any money. Okay, well, she's got money somewhere. So, okay. I mean, somehow she's got money, so, all right. She's not a millionaire? Okay. That seems unlikely because, again, someone posted the $2 million bond, right? I mean, there was a $2 million bond. Someone posted it. He doesn't have the money, I think. I mean, he's living in the flop house. He doesn't have the money. So where's the money coming from? I mean, doesn't it mean that it can only be coming from the wife? Yeah.
And then she lay in bed with her. Didn't she have some kind of an infectious disease or something?
Hence the bodysuit.
But she had no mask on that picture.
Is it 10% of $2 million? Depends on the jurisdiction. It might well be. But still, he doesn't have $200,000. So even if it's 10%, he doesn't have $200,000. A guy who's living in the flop house has $200,000. I don't think so.
That's true.
Someone's hanging out?
Took a chance. I was trying to make her feel better.
I don't have $200,000.
And you said you become one of your friends with her, right?
Like I said, she's one of my best friends.
Well, what's changed? Now, you said you were not always friends, and now you're best friends with her. What changed?
Well, I don't know if you know the story of how that happened, but I'll go ahead and tell it to you if you want me to.
He did literally just ask. He literally just asked, so you can answer the question. This should be good.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Paula was a victim in the crime, right? And now I am an accused murderer at that point, right? And here it is when this all happened, that makes it so that I can't talk to Paula, right? I'm not allowed to communicate with her. That makes sense, right? They had a protective order that immediately went in, and I couldn't talk to her. Paula, she gets diagnosed with COPD, right? And Paula, she actually files a motion with the court, right? Because she wants to, and she goes on the press and she starts saying this on the press, right? She wants to apologize to me for her role in anything that they've done to me. That's what she says.
So she's
And the judge
apologizing to you.
She wants to. She can't talk to me, right? So she wants to.
Now, you're aware in the beginning she couldn't ID the second person, right?
Look, I'm aware in the beginning.
Very simple question. You are aware, yes or no, that in the beginning, when she was first spoken
Mr. Mansfield.
to, she could not. Mr. Tucker,
You're
listen to
asking me
the
to
question,
remember
okay?
6 years ago, and
It's
then
a very
what,
simple
and what I
question.
thought then.
Okay,
Are you aware?
Gentlemen, let him finish the question, and you can answer.
Yeah, let me answer it.
Okay, but he hasn't finished the question.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Ask away.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware that 6 years ago, when she was first interviewed by the police, she could not ID the second person? Are you aware of that, yes or no?
I'm going to tell you, I'm aware that she could not positively ID the second person, man, when this first happened. No.
And she was able to identify Roy Wilson, but not the second person, correct?
Yes, she did not positively ID the second person.
Well, she said she didn't get a good look at the second person, right?
That's not true.
She said that she was focused on Roy
you're-
Wilson at the time, and
I
that
object, Your
the
Honor.
second person
I object, Your Honor.
she
He's
couldn't get a
asking me
look
to go
at.
what I know from video and what I know from police reports now. You know,
I
that's...
sustain the objection. There are varying statements that she's made.
Yep.
So, at one point, she said it, but presumably, you're aware of other statements.
Right.
Well,
Because, again, I watched all these videos and I read
So
all
let's
this
go back to
stuff.
that first night when she's interviewed. She says she can't ID the second person, right? Didn't get a good
Excuse
look
me,
at it.
hold on. Excuse me, which night are we talking
The
about?
night of the crime when she's
Okay.
being interviewed.
Again, you're asking me to go to video, you're asking me to go to police reports, and that is hearsay. So
Are
I'll
you
object.
aware that she was
Object.
unable to identify the second person?
Excuse me?
Are you aware she was unable to identify the second person
At which time period?
the night of the crime?
Again, you're asking me to go to police reports, you're asking me to commit hearsay.
Simple question, sir.
So, objection.
Okay, I'm going to overrule that objection.
Okay.
It's just your awareness
Okay.
of one
My
point in
awareness-
time and one statement.
My awareness at the time, right, and if I can, and I'm going to have to remember this because the Lord knows I've gone over this a million times, so I'm going to have to think about my memory here. At the time, as far as even any statements by Paula, hold on a second, because okay, I was in jail when this first happened.
I'm asking
Right,
you
no,
as you sit here,
sir,
Mr.
you're asking
Tucker,
me to
I'm
remember.
asking you as you sit here today, not where your mind was back then. As you sit here today,
Okay, as I sit here today,
are you aware that she could not ID the second person
and
on
you're
the night
asking-
it happened?
Okay, and you're asking me to commit hearsay.
I don't believe that's the case, so you
okay.
can answer it, and
Okay.
remember, you'll have the opportunity
Okay.
for redirect.
As I sit here today.
Just let me
Oh, sorry.
finish. You'll have the opportunity for redirect.
Okay, thank
So if you, after this is finished, want to elaborate on certain things, you may, but in terms of succinct answer to this question, you do
Yeah,
need to give.
I'll give you a succinct answer to this question. Okay, it depends on the time period as far as Paula. As today, I could definitely tell you that different time periods she said different things. I can say that.
And you're aware that the very night it happened, she did not identify the second person.
The very night it happened, again, that's the only reason I would even remember this right now is because we've been going over it recently.
Correct.
And I'm going over it, and she had varying statements at that point.
Well, you're certainly aware that at the perpetuated testimony,
Yes.
she was able to say it wasn't you as the second person, right?
I'm also aware that she was, again, coerced into making statements by police. So, okay.
Didn't ask you about that, sir. Very simple question.
Well, if you're
You
gonna-
were
if you're
aware-
gonna lead me- if
You
you're
were
gonna lead
aware
me-
that during her perpetuated testimony that you sat and watched,
Yes.
you observed her adamantly
Yes.
stating it was
Yes.
Tucker's not the second guy, right?
Yep, I sure did.
That was 4 years after the crime was committed.
That was 4
about
years.
3 years.
That was 4 years after the crime was committed.
Well, September of 20 would be about 3 years, right?
Okay, somewhere in there. But here's the thing.
And there's no question pending, sir. I'm asking the questions you're answering.
Go ahead.
Okay? That's how.
Prosecutor sounds like a total prick. Prosecutor is just coming off to me as a total prick. This guy is just so calm. This guy's just so calm, and he's like keeps interrupting him. The prosecutor, at least to me, man, and maybe other people look at it differently, but this guy's just so calm and just trying to give answers, and he keeps getting interrupted, and the prosecutor's just flailing around. Man, I'll tell you what, I think the pro se is winning this exchange. That's just my take. I think the pro se is winning. Yeah. You've emailed the motion, Tucker filed. Excellent. I look forward to reading that when we get done with this testimony or during a break or whatever. I look forward to that.
This works.
Okay, go for it. Ask me another question. I'll take any ones you got.
Great. Good to hear it.
Yeah.
Oh, what a condescending way to be a bitch. Great. Good to hear it. Prosecutor's being a little bitch now. Damn.
That's why I put myself up here.
Now, she testified that she had talked to your wife through Facebook. Did you also communicate with her through Facebook?
No, I was not allowed.
So you never had any communications with her?
No, not on Facebook at that time.
Have you had any? You saw her at McDonald's after the crime, right?
Yes, but I was not under arrest at that point. I was not under a protective order at that point.
Okay, but when you saw her at McDonald's, you guys had a conversation there, right?
Yes, we did.
And did you tell her anything about the crime when you saw her at McDonald's?
I told her what had happened to me, about the police interrogating me, and she did ask me some questions. I remember that, and I remember answering, different questions as she asked them. I remember she told me her experience. She told me how horrible it was. I remember, like I said, sitting there feeling like, you talk about feeling, God, not sorry for somebody. That's the wrong way to say it.
So you
but
communicated
whatever.
with, is it fair to say you communicated with her at McDonald's?
Yes.
Now, is it your testimony today that you've not communicated with her directly at all from that moment until today?
No. When did I
Okay.
say that?
So tell us about those communications. You said you weren't allowed to
Okay.
talk to her, right?
Yes, sir. And I
Okay.
also said
And when did that end?
I also said she filed a motion with the court to be able to talk to me, and that yes, she was going on the press saying these things, that she wanted to apologize to me. Judge Jones granted that motion, and
you've
she
had
was allowed to
communications.
talk to me.
And then
that's
you've had,
when, and now we
you've
are.
had general communications with her ever since.
He was
Sorry.
still testifying.
Sorry, I'm just telling
No,
you.
I'm not talking to you. I'm saying if you weren't complete with your answer, go ahead.
Judge reprimanding the prosecutor. The prosecutor comes off like such a little bitch. Oh, such a little bitch.
Yeah, I'm just. Look, there comes a point where.
Judge, again, there's no question
No,
pending.
well, he was still answering the
Thank you.
last question.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
go finish your answer to the last question.
Judge Jones granted the order allowing us to be able to talk. And that day, yeah, I was in tears.
Okay, so you got the in tears part out. The jury heard it.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah, thanks.
All right, great. Let's move on. So you've talked to her, admittedly, since then.
Oh, quite a bit.
Quite a bit, right?
Yeah, quite a bit.
You remember her taking a trip to California?
Vaguely, yes.
She posted pictures of it, right?
If I remember right, she posted pictures of Woody.
Of who?
She likes Woody from, I guess, I forget what the name of the movie
Toy
is.
Story?
It's some Disney thing, man. But she likes a character named Woody.
Oh, Woody from Toy Story. I got
That's what it is. Thank you.
it. 1 minute, please, Judge.
All right?
I'm not sure if we could talk at that time, though.
You would think, like, I mean, the defendant testifying on the stand is rare. You know, most lawyers advise against it. So the defendant testifying is normally a prosecutor's dream. And this is even one step worse for the defense, right? Because it's literally a pro se. This should be a layup. This should be this should just be falling off a log easy. The prosecutor should be owning him 8 different ways. And he's not. You know, he's just not. And the defendant is winning. This is a prosecutor's dream, and the prosecutor can't do anything with it. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Oh my God. This is truly hilarious, my friends. This is a thing to watch. This is amazing.
Can find it.
Ross, they allowed him to do a narrative. They allowed him to do narrative, so they didn't require him to ask questions. They just was allowed to tell a story in narrative form.
I'm sorry?
Typically not allowed, but the judge allowed it because it was the best way to do it. So they allowed it as narrative.
Not necessarily. This one.
Second.
That's fine.
I'm-
He's certainly going to give you an opportunity, and you know, you can go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Tucker, showing me Mr. Marks. Tango 1 through 5 composite.
Okay.
Recognize these photos?
Let me see. Yes, they're from Paula Belmont's Facebook page, and the thing is, I don't think we were talking at that time.
How do you know her from her Facebook page?
Because I've seen her Facebook page.
So, you remember seeing these on her Facebook page?
Yeah, I don't understand the relevance of them.
Judge, at this time I seek to move in what's been previously marked as Tango 1 through 5.
Okay. Is there any objection?
Again, I'd like to know the relevance of the pictures.
Okay, you're objecting to
Yeah, relevance.
Okay, so we'll have to have a bench conference then. So come on around.
Thank you, sir.
If the prosecutor winds up losing this argument, I am going to be amazed. The prosecutor looks like such a tool. Looks like such a tool. If the prosecutor winds up losing this argument, I'm going to laugh pretty hard. Obviously, I don't know what the pictures are, so I can't even possibly comment as to what my view of the law in such a situation is, because I don't know what they're talking about. But if he loses his argument, I'm going to laugh pretty hard. The defense is so casual, so at ease. He just seems like he's like just hanging out at a bar or something. He just seems like he's calm, man. This level of transcendence is normally something people work years for, right? This is like some hardcore meditation you dream of. This guy's just in a constant flow state of meditation. Like, this is the kind of thing people pay big dollars for to get from a seminar. This guy just has it, man. He's so casual, so nonchalant, so at ease. All right, so let's see what they came up with.
All right, so let's pick it back up. You're aware of her trip to California, right?
Yes, I am.
Oh, he won the objection. He won. He won. The pro se won. He won the objection. Because he was going to ask about the Facebook page, and he's not asking about the Facebook page. So that the only conclusion is he won. The pro se won the objection. Wow. Wow. Sounds like I can't ask those questions. Let me ask something else. He's getting out-lawyered by the pro se. He's getting out-lawyered by the pro se. This is my hero, man. This is my hero. I love this guy. This is great. This is great.
She took pictures with Woody, you said, right?
Yep. I think she takes them pretty much on every trip she goes on.
All right.
No, it definitely doesn't happen too often. It certainly doesn't. But the pro se is winning, man. What can you say? It's just the pro se is winning.
Ever since that order was lifted, you've had pretty steady communication with her. Is that fair to say?
Fairly steady. Sometimes, man, a little more, sometimes less.
Now, you talked about this friend, Big somebody. What's his name again?
Big Scott.
Big Scott.
Yep.
Big Scott was staying at the warehouse with everybody?
No, he was not. He was there that night, yes, but
Which night is that, sir?
that would be, I guess that would be the night of the crime. Because again, you know, like I said, I went go get cigarettes with Travis, come back, and Big Scott is at the door.
And so Big Scott, was he a friend of yours or an acquaintance? How would you describe him?
Actually, he's a friend, you know, and he was a friend of, well, I think he was a friend of a couple people there.
And at some point, are you aware of Big Scott telling you and Travis and Rory, I don't know what you guys are plotting, but I want nothing to do with it? Do you remember that comment?
No.
No?
No.
When did you first learn that Mr. Bond?
And he has nothing to impeach him on. He has nothing to impeach him on. Did you make this statement? No. Okay, let me move on to the next question. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You can't impeach him? What is going on here, man?
Had been murdered.
I told you that already.
Okay, but you need.
I didn't. Well, actually, I shouldn't say I knew Mr. Bonnet got murdered at that point. At that point, the first time I heard anything about what had happened at the Treehouse, and it wasn't even the Treehouse. Where, you know, they told me somebody got stabbed in the CVS parking lot. That's the first time I heard about it.
So the way you heard about it, the stabbing
Yes.
was alleged to have happened in the
Right.
CVS parking lot.
Right. The next time I heard about it, I was at the police station.
Is that when you found out it was actually at this Treehouse location?
Yes.
And that's when you were talking to Detective Pitcher, right?
That would be Detective Pitcher, Danielle Malone, and Captain Phelps.
Now, at some point, didn't you tell Detective Pitcher what you told this jury today, that you were not involved and that you were sleeping off, you were drunk and sleeping it off or something?
Yeah, I told him, man. I told him the same thing. I couldn't remember much, man, from the night. And yes, I remember.
This had better be good. This had better be really good. You have just actively solicited the testimony that you yourself got excluded earlier. Okay? Because the defendant earlier was trying to testify about all these things he told the police. And you're like, hearsay. That's right. Right? Because it's coming out of his mouth. But when the prosecutor asks the question, it's not hearsay. Because it's a party opponent. So the prosecutor can ask about things coming out of his mouth. But why are you asking about things that he wanted to bring in? Why are you asking about the exonerating things he told the police? Yeah, I told the police the exact same story I'm telling you right now. Told them the same thing. This had better be real good. This had better be real good. If you don't have a way to like contradict this immediately, if you don't have something to slam dunk contradict this, he said something to someone else or something, why on God's earth are you asking this question? Why, as the prosecutor on God's earth, would you ask him the very question that you previously got excluded when the defendant tried to bring it up because it's hearsay, and now you're the one soliciting the testimony, where the testimony is, yes, I told the police literally the same thing I'm telling the jury right now. You are correct. I told him the same thing. Why would you ask that question? Why would you ever ask that question? This better be real fucking good.
Passing out. I remember waking up
Right.
because I needed cigarettes, and I went to the Tom Thumb, and Travis went with me.
And that's what you told Detective Pitcher, correct?
Yes, it is.
And you even told Detective Pitcher that just ask Travis, he'll back you up, right?
I thought so. I didn't know anything was wrong.
All right. Well, Travis didn't back you up, did he?
No, he didn't.
Travis
There's a
came
good reason
clean
for that.
and gave a statement to the police, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And
Okay.
you know,
It's just a
again-
yes, no?
Okay. Yes, he
Need your
did.
commentary on it.
Yes, he did.
What are you doing? What are you talking about? You told the police, ask Travis, he'll back me up. He didn't back you up, did he? No. What are we doing? So let me get this straight. You asked the defendant about the defendant about the buttressing statements he told the police, which is excludable, right? Because the defendant wanted to say, here's things I said in the past that confirm what I said. Those are buttressing statements. You can't do that. But you can if you're the other side because you're soliciting it. So it's like, yeah, here are the buttressing statements I told the police. I wasn't allowed to tell you before, but I do now. Yep, that's what I told the police. I told them exactly the same story I'm telling you now. And then I said, I think this guy will back me. He didn't, did he? No. What the fuck? What the fuck? Yeah, at that point, I didn't know there was anything wrong. At that point, I thought Travis would back me. You are correct. He ultimately didn't back me. How does this impeach me? How does this show me to be a liar? How is this a contradiction? What is the prosecutor doing? This is dumb. This is really dumb.
Do you remember when you saw Paula at McDonald's in this whole timeline? When did you run into her at McDonald's? The very next day? Was it 2 days later? 3 days later?
It was, let's see, hold on. It would have been, okay, because the raid, suppose, you know, if you want to call it that, whatever you want to call it, that happens on the 21st. Going into the 22nd is when I'm literally being interrogated all night. That day, whatever that day is, that would probably be, that would be the 22nd again, because it ends that morning. So, okay, 22nd, it would be on the 22nd.
Okay. And let me ask you, Mr. Tucker, you were making pretty good money, right? $300 an hour to put these blue tarps up?
Yeah, I was doing all right.
What's the reason you hadn't gotten a place? You know, you were still living in these
Well, because
temporary
again,
places.
I lived on a boat before, right? And as I testified, I was trying to save up for a new boat. There are going to be plenty of cheap ones around, but here's the thing: is I don't like paying outrageous rents that are in Key West. I'd rather buy a boat and live on the water.
Okay, that works.
Now,
what kind of question was that? You're making $300 an hour. Why didn't you rent an apartment? What the fuck? What kind of question is that? How's that relevant to anything? And then he gives an answer. Well, you know, I just wanted to live on a boat. I was saving money to buy a boat so I could live on the boat. What kind of question is that? How does his answer make him guilty? What the hell are you doing, prosecutor? Yeah. Apparently, he was getting paid $300 an hour to put up blue tarp over people's roofs in response to the hurricane, is what I'm understanding him to be talking about. So people were paying him $300 an hour to get up on roofs and put tarp up. The price of it, I imagine, is somewhat being driven by the fact that there's a lot of demand at the time, right? Because it's a supply-demand issue, right? So yeah, I would imagine that to the extent that people need blue tarps on their roofs, I would imagine a lot of people in response to a hurricane might need blue tarps. So as a result of, you know, increased demand, I would imagine the price would go up. So yes, apparently putting tarps on people's roof at the operative time was worth $300 an hour because that was what the market would bear. So yep, that sounds about right to me. So fine, that works.
You said you'd passed out that day drinking these fireballs, right?
Yes, sir.
What time in that, like what time, take us through that day, the timeline for that day. When were you drinking these fireballs?
I know, look, it's like I said, I don't really remember the day that well. I remember drinking during the day. I do remember that. I don't even remember all who was there. I know there were other people that came in and out. I know I passed out somewhere along the lines, but that, I mean, asking me specifics, especially 6 years later, I couldn't tell you.
So you started drinking these Red Balls, was the sun still up?
That would be Fireball, sir. And
Fireballs.
yes, the sun was still
He corrects you again. He corrects you again. Unbelievable.
up, while I was drinking. That is true.
All right. Do you remember getting out of bed and going right to the partying phase, or did you do something else before it started that day?
I already tested.
I might send this prosecutor a bottle of Fireball in the mail. Just for reference.
Testified to that. I told you that.
Okay, well, I'm asking again.
Okay.
I appreciate you reminding me.
I'm just saying is I woke up at some point in the time and I went and got cigarettes at the Tom Thumb. And I came back and Travis was with me. And yes, Big Scott was there. I told you what happened after that.
But I'm talking about earlier in the day. When you got out of bed that day, did you go do something or did you just start drinking?
No, actually, I mean, I'm pretty sure, because if I'm drinking during the day, I had a day off. So, if I'm drinking during the day, I had a day off. So, yeah, I would imagine I had the day off.
And do you remember passing out that day?
Yeah, remember passing out? I don't know if that's a proper term, but no,
Okay.
I don't remember passing out. I remember.
Don't remember passing out?
I remember I passed out somewheres along the lines, but yeah, I don't. I guess I'm being too literal here, but I remember. Yes, I went to sleep sometime during the day and night. I don't know.
And do you remember what time you woke up?
No,
Day or night?
night.
Police cars already out and about?
Policing cars were already up there on Laurel Avenue. I could see I could see the lights from the Tom Thumb parking lot. I could see all the lights that were up on Laurel Avenue.
Do you know how many times Mr. Bonner was stabbed?
At this point, yes.
So now, I guess your story is that this is all being pinned on you, right? That you didn't do
Well,
this.
You would know better than anybody, Mr. Mansfield.
Oh, would I? But I
Yes.
wasn't there. You were. So why don't you tell me? Are you telling me this was all pinned on you?
I hate to tell you again, Mr. Mansfield.
It's very simple,
You
Mr.
just
Tucker.
said
Is
that
your
I was
story
there, and you have
today?
no proof
Is
of
your
that.
story
All right,
today
sir.
that you were?
Sir.
This is all being made up, and that you didn't do this.
Yes, this is it. That is my story all day,
Okay.
and I've said it since day one.
So this is just the Big Bubba system going after you to pin this on you.
Yeah, and Mr. Mansfield. I can answer that. Would you like me to answer it? Would you like me to tell you how I know that? You said you didn't want to go into that.
Well, you know what? Let's not go into that because I'm pretty sure what your opinion is has no factual basis to it.
Really?
So, in other words, this is your theory that this is all being pinned on you by the Big Bubba system.
Your Honor, I would object unless he wants to let me go into the things he doesn't want to go into.
I'll sustain that last question as argumentative.
I have nothing else.
All right.
What an absolute fail. I have nothing further. What an absolute fail. What a total fail. Man, what an absolute fail.
So, now
Can I
you
read your-
may conduct redirect in the same fashion, but just remember it's within the scope of the cross. We're not, all right?
Okay, thank you. I don't even know if I want to read it. I don't know.
Well,
what I
you
want
don't
read.
have to.
I'm just trying. Let me think about what
All
Mr.
right.
Mansfield just asked me
All right,
because
take a
I was
moment.
kind of getting blasted there.
If you need a moment, take a moment.
Thank you.
It's
And-
not mandatory redirect,
No.
just if you want the opportunity.
Right. Again, yes, again, I think I would like to address that last thing there, but I mean, yes, I do know that I'm being set up I'm being set up for this because I'm here. That's an obvious thing. I won't go into what, again, the things we're not supposed to be talking about right now, I guess. But You know, I do, let's see, as far as, everything else, I mean, everything else you just asked me, I'd already talked about, so I don't think there's anything else I need to say.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can step down.
What an absolute fail for the prosecutor. What a total fail. What a total fail. He's just like, yeah, he's just like, I can't get into it because it's not outside. So he tells the juries there's things they're not allowed to hear. Right? Yes, I know I'm being set up and I know how, but I can't tell you about it. And I have nothing else to say because I already told you everything. What an absolute... And, nothing in this trial has convinced me he's beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, I will take note that I haven't watched every minute. So, but I've seen I saw everything from day one, where you would think that the prosecutor's going to lay out their best evidence. And then this guy has witnesses who are like, yeah, he wasn't involved. People, including the victims, who say, yeah, he wasn't involved. And it's like, yeah, I'm just being set up. This is a lie. They don't have anything. How are they tying him to this crime? Is there any physical evidence? No, I wouldn't think so. Otherwise, they'd ask about it, right? There can't be any physical evidence because otherwise the prosecutor would have asked him. How do you explain your fingerprint being wherever? How do you explain that it was your knife wherever? How do you explain it was your blood whatever? How do you explain it was your shirt whatever, right? They can't have any physical evidence because if they did, he surely would have asked about it and they didn't. So there can't be any physical evidence that ties him to it. Right? Because he didn't ask any of those questions. So there can't be any physical evidence. So they got nothing. They got nothing except his own co-conspirators' statements. Yeah, and in New York, incidentally, I know a little bit about New York law. In New York, you couldn't do this. You need more than that. You can't just use the uncorroborated statement of a co-conspirator. That's not valid in New York. You have to have something else. So the mere statement by the co-conspirator is not enough. You have to have something, like anything, that ties the guy to the crime. But they don't have anything. So they wouldn't even be able to do this in New York. But, unbelievable. No evidence. Just one witness. No evidence tying the guy to the crime. There's nothing to convict them on. There's absolutely nothing to convict them on. They've got nothing. And he kept correcting him. He kept correcting the prosecutor every time. He's like, didn't you go to the CVS? No, I never said that. Didn't you tell the jury earlier? No, I said I went to the other thing. Weren't you paying attention? Oh, why were you drinking the Red Ball? It's Fireball, sir. Isn't it true you told the police a completely consistent story? Yep, that's true. I told the police a completely consistent story with what I'm telling you right now. I have not changed my story. From the time they brought me down to interrogation, the day of the murders, the day of the murder, from the time they brought me down for interrogation till now, I've literally been telling the same story the entire time. I haven't changed my story once. Yeah. Isn't it true that you said that Terry would be there for you and he wasn't? Yeah, I guess so. What is that supposed to prove? Hey, isn't it true you're making $300 an hour and living in a treehouse? Yeah, I was trying to save money for a boat. Also, how's that relevant to anything? Hey, I'd like to offer these Facebook pictures. Objection. No. Hey, I'd like to ask you about the Big Bubba system. I object unless he wants me to get into things we're not allowed to get to. I object unless he wants to allow me to open the door. I object. And the judge is like, let's not do that. And then he still gets on to redirect and be like, yep, they basically just told you. Yeah, there are things I know about why I know I'm being framed, and I can't tell you, so I'm not going to tell you, and I've got nothing else to say. Drop mic. Drop mic. Yeah. So I think it's not guilty. I don't know whether he did it or not, but they got nothing. They got literally nothing. They didn't get anything from him. He didn't tell the police anything different. Amazingly, somehow he talks to the police, and nothing he said to the police, without an attorney, mind you, can be used to impeach him or can be used to convict him. This guy's amazing. Somehow he talks to the police, apparently all night he talks to the police without a lawyer present, and somehow he doesn't say anything that can be used to convict him. Because if he did, with an absolute certainty, the prosecutor would be saying, well, didn't you say this? Didn't you say this incriminating thing? How about this incriminating thing? So somehow, some way, he talks to the police for hours, doesn't manage to say anything that incriminates him, and it's a completely consistent story to what he's saying now. And the prosecutor's incompetent. Yeah, don't talk to the police. I agree, don't talk to the police. I absolutely agree, don't talk to the police. All I'm saying is he apparently was able to pull it off. He somehow was able to pull it off. Somehow, some way, he apparently was able to beat the experienced detectives of the police department, who I'm sure were trying to ask him the questions 8 different ways. And he's just not giving any of the answers they want. And people have testified falsely, or people have confessed falsely to detectives, because sometimes they can put a lot of pressure on you. So sometimes people can say things just to say things, because people just say things sometimes. Apparently, this guy is sitting with them for hours and hours on end and doesn't manage to say anything that incriminates him. Talking to the police at all is a bad idea. Talking to the police without a lawyer is also a really bad idea. But somehow, some way, despite the fact it's him versus the experienced interrogators, he wins. And somehow, some way, him versus the prosecutor, he wins. He just wins everything. He wins all the things. He's the best. You know? So, like, yeah, I would vote not to convict, man. I don't think we have anything like beyond a reasonable doubt. I have so many reasonable doubts. I have all the reasonable doubts. I shouldn't have to tell you why I have reasonable doubts. Yeah, the main detective in the case got demoted. Yeah, it's actually worse than that. It's actually worse than that, because as he testified in opening, he, the pro se, raised a complaint to the police about the investigation against him, and the police themselves validated his complaint. That's how messed up it is. He, on his own, went to the complaint and said, hey, I think this complaint went bad. I think they did bad things. And the police department's like, you're right. They did do bad things. This was not a good investigation. They screwed it up. I mean, this guy is just rolling. This guy is just rolling. He just keeps rolling at the craps table, and he just doesn't crap out. He's amazing. He keeps rolling over and over and over again. I don't even know how many times. He's rolled the dice 20 different times now. At least he's rolled the dice 20 different times, and somehow he hasn't crapped out. He just keeps winning. He just keeps winning all the things. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, he's hitting doubles on every roll in the hard pass. That's right. He just keeps winning every single time. He's thrown 20 rolls in a row, and he just keeps winning. Yeah. So I'm a vote to not guilty. I'm a vote to not guilty, man. The state hasn't even come close to anything resembling proving their case at all. They haven't come even remotely close to anything proving their case. All they have is the completely uncorroborated testimony of one guy who testified to strike a plea deal, so he only got 5 years. Wow. Amazing. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Is this guy Bishop Starvin? I don't know who he is. He's just unbelievable. Did you ever see National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation? He's like Rusty. He's like Rusty. Rusty is he's a minor. He's a minor, and he gets a fake ID made for him on the Vegas Strip. There's literally a guy around who's holding a fairly large driver's license thing. And he just literally puts his head inside this driver's license thing and takes a photograph. And like, now you're Mr. Papa Giorgio from Utah, right? And Rusty just keeps winning. He keeps winning. He literally just pulls a slot machine once and he wins a car. And then he pulls like another slot machine and wins a car. He wins like 4 cars from single pulls of the slot machine. He just keeps winning. No one can stop him. No one can stop him. He's at the craps table and he's winning. He pulls each slot. He pulls 4 different slot machines once. He wins 4 different cars. He just keeps winning. Yeah, that's our hero over here. Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Wow. Woo.
This would be a good time for an afternoon break, folks. How about
Mr. Papa Giorgio.
Oh, chill. I'm just looking at the clock. 1:55. No, 2:55. 2:55. Same procedures and protocols. If anybody wants to go outside the jury room, let the bailiff know.
All right, let's skip ahead.
Well, I guess the state has a brief rebuttal case, and so let's bring the jury in, please.
This guy is just winning everything. If the jury doesn't vote to acquit, I'll be amazed at this point. I'll also be a little sad. The defective detective is next. Is he calling? No, wait. Because I think they're done, right? Because the judge earlier said the defense case is closed without asking. So just to show you, like, the incompetence just continues on, right? Apparently, the judge earlier said the case is closed, defense case is closed. Thanks, jury. You've hit all the evidence, and then the defendant's like, you know what? I'd really like to do. I'd really like to testify for myself, and the judge apparently is like, oh, I didn't ask. Oh, and so he has to bring the jury back in. And it's like, yeah, know how I told you the defense case was closed? Yeah, not so much, because the defendant still would like to testify. Kind of fucked that one up. So I think they're done with witnesses. Oh, it's rebuttal witnesses? Oh, the state's going to call rebuttal witnesses? Oh, man, really? The state's going to call the defective detective now? Oh, this should be real good. Oh, this should be good. Oh, yeah, we're going to watch this. This should be real powerful rebuttal testimony. This is amazing. Let's see how this goes. This should be a shit show. Yes, detective. Please sell us on why the defendant is guilty. Please tell us why the defendant lied.
Thank you. Please.
And all the valuable evidence. Please tell us all about it.
This case is completed at this point. The state is going to be given an opportunity to present a case in rebuttal.
Yes, sir. State. Well, thank you, Judge. The state's going to call Officer Danielle Malone.
This had better be good. What do we think the probability is that the state house somehow manages to make their case worse on rebuttal? Yeah, I what's the probability that they somehow manage to make their case even worse on rebuttal? Okay, let's watch this.
Yes. Please come forward through the gate, approach the deputy in front of the witness stand. That's good right there. Turn and face the clerk. Raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in the cause now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
Please have a seat on the witness stand.
What the hell's going on with this witness?
Proceed, Judge.
Seriously? Seriously, this person? Really? Really? This person is their witness? I mean, we probably shouldn't be body shaming, but holy shit. Really? This person with the curly hair and the absolutely frumpy, wristing bitch face that's fat and just full of everything, and she's obviously morbidly obese. This is our witness? Really? They look like a bad cosplayer, man. And a double-breasted suit? Who wears a double-breasted suit? This is our witness? This witness does not scream credibility to me.
Thank you, sir. Miss Malone, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You're no longer an officer, right? So it's just Miss Malone?
Yes, sir.
All right.
She lost her job? Oh my God. Oh my God. I thought she was just demoted. She's not working with the police force at all anymore? Oh, holy shit. Really? Holy shit. Wow.
Ms. Malone, I called you back to the stand on our rebuttal case. I want to ask you a few questions. Now, the night of November 17th of 2017, how were you employed at that time?
I was a detective with the Major Crimes Unit.
And were you dispatched to the hospital to conduct an investigation?
Yes, sir.
And what was the purpose in having you go to the hospital that night?
Was to meet with the victim, Paula Belmonte,
The victim of what?
of the robbery, murder.
And was this the same night that it had happened?
Yes, sir.
And what hospital did you report to?
Lower Keys Medical Center.
You remember about what time you went there that night?
It's probably around 10-ish
I mean,
at night.
Clearly nighttime, right?
Yes, sir.
Were you able to make contact with Miss Belmont?
Yes, sir.
And were you able to ask her questions about what had just happened?
Yes, sir.
Judge, at this time,
So you're not moving into evidence?
No, sir. So we come sidebar?
Yeah.
Wow. This is going great, guys. I'm really sold already. Man, from the first words out of her mouth, I'm ready for a good time.
When you went to the hospital that night, did you have your body worn camera on?
Yes, sir.
Right, and did it produce a video of your conversation with Miss Belmont?
Yes, sir.
And did you have a chance to watch this video prior to coming to court today?
Yes, sir.
Does this video accurately and fairly depict that conversation?
From what it seems like, yes.
Did it appear to be altered or tampered with in any way?
No, sir.
Judge, at this time, I would seek to move in our video here.
Which has been marked for identification as,
Is it marked?
I don't know if it's been marked.
I have something here, thumb drive for Paula Belmonte, in our hospital.
Yes.
It's been marked as you.
Okay, Judge, the state would seek to move in what's been marked as uniform into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor. I just would like to get a little closer look.
You would, yes, you may do so. Okay. You for identifications admitted into evidence as the state's next in order number 19. It's going to be published. The defendant's going to position himself as he has done previously to be able to get a good vantage point as to it. And we want to be sure that, as always, you can see it and hear it.
All right, Judge, may I go ahead and publish?
Go ahead.
Describe the other person.
I didn't really get a chance to get first.
Wait a minute, stop.
The other person was smaller.
Stop it, this is
It's slow, little, like her. He had something real.
Okay.
The smaller guy?
Yeah, something didn't look like a knife, but it was big, like something long and big.
So this is not the portion or the one that you...
This is just a small segment of the overall video which we're going to.
Give us a moment here. Some technical difficulties.
I can't wash my hands because.
That looks like the right.
Hi. Huh? Your friend Todd? He was at the house?
Yeah. Coming to see you.
Never know, okay?
I know they kept going, nothing really said.
I don't know. I'm here to talk to you, okay?
I mean, the defendant really should be objecting to this on hearsay grounds, to be honest, because it's an out-of-court statement offered for the truth of the matter asserted. So just saying he's missing a trick.
I'm Danielle, okay? I need you to tell me about the person who did this.
So this is going to be a hearsay statement. This better be really good, I swear.
Or the persons that did this.
Okay, I don't know the one. The one that I do know, the one that was on top of me, the one who's stabbing. He was living in Detroit. Big black guy.
When you say big, what do you mean by big?
Big, like you big. Big, taller than it was big.
Okay, stocky, muscular, fat,
Stocky, big.
stocky, and taller than I am?
Yeah, he had
How
that.
much taller?
Yeah,
Okay, so about 6 foot.
he had been at the house earlier, and then he had a upstairs playing chess or something. I don't know because I was upstairs. He's a friend of his. He was like,
Okay.
and they, I kept saying she's going to have somebody come and beat me up, get me up, steal my money. But she kept saying that she tried to have Kristen Dinklocker do it. She asked Elizabeth Evans to do it. Matt put about 15-day notice on her door yesterday.
Okay.
But it was the one that brought him to the house originally. And last year they say the same thing. She knows, all they know is his nickname is Detroit.
All right, his nickname's Detroit.
He's some kind of warehouse.
Okay.
A warehouse somewhere on Front Street, I believe.
On Front Street? Okay, is he black, white?
In black.
How old is he?
In my age group, I'm 53, somewhere in that area.
In his 40s or 50s?
In East, something like that.
In his 50s?
Yeah.
Okay. Any scars, marks, tattoos?
I don't know that well. He's April's friend, not mine.
Okay, but you've seen him. Did you, any scars or tattoos?
Nothing I'm aware of, no.
Okay. What kind of clothes was he wearing?
Black shoes. Yellow shoes, dark shirts, and dark sweatshirt, dark. Like this, like this in the dark.
Okay.
He's had some kind of mask up, but I knew it wasn't maybe because of that.
Okay.
I didn't see well in the dark, it was not to me. I think you should see him. I couldn't tell the person was even masked because I was in the dark, but I knew exactly who it was. It was him.
Okay. Well, describe the other person.
And he, when he get a chance to get the person, he was on top of me. He The other person was smaller, little, maybe, smaller, little like her. He could get something real big in his hand.
The smaller guy?
Something just looked like that, big, like something long and big, and something I don't know. It was about this long.
Okay, was he white, black, Hispanic, male or female?
But he was on her phone too.
And that was a male?
Yes.
Okay, so a smaller, black male. About how old was he?
She's not able to testify. She's in the hospital and tried testifying over Zoom, but she was on meds. Well, I still don't know that means why we can bring this in from the past. I don't get that. Right? So, witness unavailable. We're trying to squeeze it into a witness unavailable exception. Yeah, I'm not sure that there's any exception that would apply. I'll look it up though. Could be. I'll check.
I don't know. But I had to do that Detroit and then downstairs in Matt's house and I see his fingerprints out of the window. Just he hung out there and they put that.
Okay, the other person. How old was he?
I don't know. He was taking trouble. Like I had a 200-pound man on top of me and I was just catching glimpses. Roger is the one you want to ask about that. Roger, that he doesn't put anything somewhere. Roger Luggett. That's the one that.
Roger Luggett? Rugged?
Rugged. R-U-G-G-I-T-T. He's the one that got beat up by the other guy.
Now, Miss Malone, she said I had a 200-pound man on top of me, and I was catching glimpses. Who was she referring to when she said glimpses?
The second person.
She was only catching glimpses of the second person.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And he lives in the city? Roger lives in the city?
He works at T West Golf Course. And at this time, he's probably staying there. He's the maker. He's the Lord of God.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at the rules of evidence on declarant unavailable, and I don't see how any exception under declarant unavailable would apply in this situation. So, yeah. I'm not sure on what basis we're allowing this testimony in right now. I'm a little confused. The judge let it in as an inconsistent statement to her deposition, so it's a statement against interests. Okay, that makes sense, I guess.
I know the autopsy of what was there, and I'm really like,
How old's Roger?
Also, it's not like the most riveting testimony because she doesn't seem completely with it. So yeah. Also, what is the inconsistent part exactly that she's? What is she said that's inconsistent? Maybe it's going to come. I'm confused. Oh, yes. Okay, so I get it. All right. So this is what they were referring to on... This is what the prosecutor was trying to refer to on the cross of the defendant, right? Because it's like, yeah, didn't she say that she didn't get a good look or wasn't able to identify that night? Yeah, okay. But later was able to determine that after a couple of years. So, yeah, that it wasn't that guy. So, yeah, we kind of already know that. So, yeah, so in the night of, she's like, I didn't get a really good look at him, but later was able to determine under declaration that, yeah, that wasn't the guy. Apparently a couple years later, but she's able to draw that conclusion from whatever. So, all right, I guess. So we're bringing it in for the proposition that the night of, when incidentally she's been stabbed, one will take note. Okay. And also Also, that, they might have been partying with the fireball or whatever, slash drugs, slash whatever. So, yeah, the night of where she might be under the influence of various chemicals and she's been stabbed, apparently she's a little bit unsure, and we're going to use that to impeach her declaration. Really feeling the contradiction over here. Yeah, not buying that one very much.
Do you know where Roger would have gone and why he wanted to stay?
Probably because he was scared to death, like most of his work. The other person, another guy named Roosevelt Washington, he ran away. He was downstairs, he was upstairs.
Roosevelt.
Every time he took hangs out with that, he was here, place test and stuff.
Is Roosevelt white, black, or Hispanic? And he said his name's Roosevelt Washington. Where does he live at? Okay. I honestly, I don't know.
Talking upstairs, he said that he stopped, he tried to stop the guy, stabbed that, and I got stabbed in the video.
So, where were you when this all started?
Upstairs when I stayed upstairs.
Okay, where was Matt?
Sleeping downstairs.
Okay.
I can't see him on this house now. Upstairs, that we can't do it.
Okay.
Upstairs, that we can do it.
So explain to me exactly what happened, okay?
I keep running up the stairs, I keep hearing something coming up, I turn around, and I go over to the phone. Started to come, he said, "Where's your purse, where's your purse, where's your purse?"
Okay. Did he get your purse? Okay, describe your purse for me, okay?
Well, he got a black backpack too. Then we changed the purse. He's picking his stuff, and we just ordered.
Okay.
My backpack is black. And I see the other guy picked up, like I said, I couldn't look at it, that's what it got. And then I do the one guy, it's this guy named Paul Short. I keep it downstairs, and I go with us.
What about the other guy? Have you ever seen him before?
So that's what I don't know who it is.
I-
Basically had an mask on,
Okay.
and I could barely see him, because I had two other Gabriello on top of me, he was sitting on me. I have no clue about this guy, none. We never talk.
Okay, I think I'm just gonna skip this testimony because I can't hear it anyway. But we'll just take official note. We'll take official notice that she says that she's unsure about the suspect on the night with the stabbing. So let's move past this continuing. All right, and so let's see where we get back to the former detective on the stand. Anytime. Live stream would be fine. Why you gotta be mean to me? Why you gotta be mean? Come on.
Some kind of warehouse.
Okay. And you think it's on Front
I
Street?
think it's Front Street, but it's
Yes, sir.
Her ability to identify the second attacker. Okay, is that pretty much the totality of your discussion with her about her ability to identify the second attacker?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Judge, now the state is going to Ms. Malone, I have nothing further for you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, cross-examination.
We need to clear up this.
Well,
Can I move it up a little bit this way, Your Honor?
yes.
Okay. Ms. Malone, we had a little question and answer before, but I'm going to just ask you a few questions about this video. You said Paula looked upset in that video, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is directly after the crime, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so she's down in the ER, correct?
Yes, sir.
You know if they gave her any medications?
I wouldn't know that, sir.
Okay. So you don't know if she's lucid at this point?
Appeared lucid to me.
Okay. Now, you say she appeared lucid. How many times did she say the name Anthea Clay in that video?
I didn't count.
Okay. Did you testify previously that Anthea Clay was never rise to the level of a suspect?
Correct.
Okay. Did you go and interview Miss Anthea Clay after this?
I did not, no, sir.
Okay. Did anybody?
I believe they did. I don't know who, though.
Okay. Do you remember, again, the first interview video that was done with Anthea Clay?
I wasn't there.
Okay. I think you testified previously that it was how long afterwards?
I believe they met with her that night.
No, the video, the interview video. You said, if I remember correctly, you testified that it was almost 2 years later.
That they conducted a full interview? Yes.
Okay. Was she arrested?
No,
Okay. Why not?
because she never rose to the level of a murder suspect.
Again, Miss Malone. Paula, what did she say in that video? Did she say over and over again, this was Anthea Clay? She set this up.
I believe she said that once, and then she stated over repeatedly to talk to Anthea Clay because she knew Detroit.
Actually brought Detroit to the Treehouse, correct?
I don't recall them exact words.
We can play it again if we need to.
I just don't recall them exact words.
Okay. And if you wouldn't mind, Your Honor, can I go up and, hit the video for a second? There's a couple things I'd like to clarify.
Okay.
Thank you.
So this woman was behind it all, and you didn't do a formal interview with her for 2 years. That's great. Let me make sure I understand this completely, because it's hard to fathom. Okay. All right. So the victim says this woman is behind it all. She arranged the whole thing. And you didn't do a formal interview with her for 2 years. Is that right? Is that what happened? The suspect says this is the guy, and you didn't do an interview with him for 2 years? Okay. All right.
Judge, objection. That's not what she said. She
Yeah,
said she
I will
didn't.
wait. Okay, I will just sustain the objection as to.
How many times do you think she said it?
Objection asked and answered.
No, I'll overrule that objection.
How many times she said the name Anthea Clay?
No, the Anthea Clay did this. Anthea Clay set this up, something to that effect.
I recall one time.
Now, I want you to listen to this part, if you wouldn't mind. What did she just say?
She asked me if her friend was dead.
She said her friend's dead, right? Agree? Her friend's dead, right? Now, if you listen to this, tell me what she says in a second.
Huh? Who called you? Your friend Todd?
Defendant.
He was at the house? Okay.
Dead. He's dead.
Did she just say that?
He's dead?
Did she just say, my friend Todd, he's at the house, he's dead? What would that make it sound like?
I don't understand.
Well, you watch that little video clip right there. Did she just say, he's at the house, he's my friend, Todd is at the house, he's my friend, he's dead? Something about it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would that make it sound like she's saying that Todd is dead at the house? Sound like it.
Judge, I'm going to object. The video speaks for itself.
Well, I'll overrule the objection. Is that what you heard?
No, sir, that's not what I heard.
So let me replay it.
You can replay it, but that's not what I heard.
Let's check it again. So maybe I'm
Hi. Who called you?
My friend Todd.
Your friend Todd?
Defendant.
He was at the house?
Who called you my friend Tad? He was at the house. He was at the house.
Okay.
Dead. He's dead.
He's dead?
getting it. What she just said.
That's what I heard.
She said that her friend Todd called her and told her that her friend was dead.
Kept on saying he's dead after she said that Todd was at the house, correct?
Yes, she said Todd was at the house and that he's dead in a form of a question.
I don't know about the form of a question. I wouldn't say that exactly, but okay. Again, we can agree that this could be confusing, correct?
It was not confusing to me.
Asked and answered. We've covered it.
I'm asking if it was confusing to you, right?
Okay, I'll overrule the objection. What's the question? that-
Anyway, you got to that part. Okay, and then pull Anna the clip. Let's go to this.
Say big ones.
You can jump ahead. Jump ahead. Let's not go too far.
Okay, Mr. Tucker, having a hard time hearing you, the court reporter, so let's...
Thank you, sir. Okay. Now, Ms. Malone, at the time you were a homicide detective, correct?
Yes, sir.
Hi. Who called you? Your friend Todd? He was at the house? Okay.
Dead. He's dead.
He's dead.
Can I see him?
Never know.
What happened to him?
I see him not right now.
Nobody told him nothing but his bed. I'm saying he's not here. He's not here too.
I don't know. I'm here to talk to you. Okay? I'm Danielle, okay? I need you to tell me about the person who did this, or the person.
Can you tell me about the person who did it?
The one that I do know, the one who's on top of me, the one that's stabbing. He goes back.
Two people, and one is top of me, stabbing me.
When you say big, what do you mean by big?
Big, like you, big.
And who's Detroit?
Rory Wilson.
Thank you.
They told him that he was big.
Okay, stocky, muscular, fat,
Stocky, big.
stocky, and taller than I am?
Yeah, he can.
How much taller? All right.
Little bit, you know, this much tall. Yeah,
Okay, so about 6 foot?
He had been at the
6
house
foot.
earlier, and he had been downstairs playing chess or something. That I don't know because I'm so scared. He's excited and see you play.
Okay.
Get his bed. I kept saying she's going to have somebody come and beat me up, steal my money.
Roosevelt.
Sorry about that.
Jewish
I'm
beard,
in a little trouble here.
and he was gay.
Okay.
Okay, stop.
What did she just say there?
I can't hear it out.
She
Okay.
said Anathea Clay, and that Anathea Clay was trying to get somebody to beat her up.
And steal her money.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And how many times did she say Anthea Clay right there?
The name, I believe, 3 times.
Okay, 3 times.
He's muscular, fat,
Stocky, big.
stocky, and taller than I am?
Yeah, he can.
How much taller? All right.
else told me about, yeah.
Okay, so about 6 foot?
He had been at the house earlier, and he had been downstairs playing chess or something, that, I don't know.
He'd been in the house earlier. He was downstairs playing chess. Okay.
Because I was upstairs. He's a friend of the play.
Okay.
Yeah, I kept saying she was going to have somebody come and beat me up.
Kept saying he's gonna come and beat me up.
Yeah, I'm still with money. She kept saying this. She tried to have Crystal Dinklocker do it.
What you just say there?
She tried to have Crystal Dinklocker do it.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I
Did she
didn't
just say
catch it.
somebody else? She tried to have somebody else do it?
I believe so. I believe Melissa something.
Matt with the TV.
Judge, can we come sidebar?
Yes?
What bullshit do you want to talk about now? Yeah, I'm struggling to hear this, but yeah, it's like she wanted it set up. Well, who are they talking about? She's talking about the woman, right? Because that's who you said, like this other woman. It's like, yeah, so she set it up. She's talking about the woman. All right, let's listen to this bullshit sidebar. It's hard to tell for sure, but he just goes right back to playing. So I think he won. I think he won the sidebar. You know, because he's just going back and go back to where he was. So I think he won.
Just said?
April's the one that brought him to the house originally.
Okay.
And April's Anethea Clay. That's her street name.
Thank you.
April is Clay. That's her street name. So April and Clay are the same person. Okay.
She knows him. All they know is his nickname's Detroit.
His nickname's Detroit.
He's some kind of warehouse.
So she just said she knows him, right? She knows Roy Wilson. Detroit.
Yes, she knows Detroit.
Okay.
Roy Wilson is Detroit.
Okay.
Warehouse somewhere on the street, I believe.
On Broad Street? Okay, is he black, white?
Asking about, I think she's asking about Detroit now. She says he lives on Broad Street. And the detective was asking he's black, white.
And my age group, I'm 53, somewhere in that area.
In his 40s or 50s?
40s or 50s?
In his 50s?
50s?
Any scars, marks, tattoos?
I don't know. He's April's friend.
The April Clay again? She just said
That he's April's friend?
April's friend, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So that's Clay.
Okay, but you've seen him. Did you, any scars or tattoos?
Nothing I'm aware of, no.
Okay. What kind of clothes was he wearing?
Tattoos on his arm.
You know, the cops usually wear shorts, dark shorts and dark sweatshirt, dark, like this, like this in the dark.
Okay.
So he had some kind of mask up, but I knew it wasn't maybe he came up there.
Okay.
Well, I didn't see well in the dark, but before he got to me, I think he just, I don't know, because I couldn't tell the person was even masked because I was in the dark, but I didn't know exactly who it was. It was him.
Okay. Well, we'll describe the other person.
Thank you.
I didn't really get a chance to see that person. He was on top of me. The other person
On
was
top of
smaller,
me.
little over. Okay, smaller, little over my her. He had something real big in his hand.
The smaller guy?
Yeah, something it didn't look like a knife, but it was big, like something long and big, maybe.
Now, she testified, I'm sorry. Did she just say that the smaller guy had something big in his hands?
Yes.
And again, we just heard how many times with April, and I lost count. How many times? April and Anethea Clay?
I didn't exactly keep count, but about 5 times she said her name.
Multiple times, right?
Yes.
She knows him, friend, brought him to the treehouse. She set this up. I'm asking. Is that what she said in there?
About Anethea Clay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Again, Ms. Malone, and you say, again, did anybody go and talk to Anthea Clay?
Objection asked and answered.
I'm going to sustain that
Okay.
objection. That's
Okay. Was Anthea Clay ever brought down to the station that night?
Objection asked and answered.
I haven't.
I'll
think I've asked that.
overrule that objection. You can answer the question, ma'am.
To headquarters? Not
Yes.
to my knowledge.
Okay. And again, I mean, she says that, Anthea Clay is a friend of Rory Wilson. Did you know where Rory Wilson was that night?
At that time,
At that time?
I did not know.
You didn't know. Okay. And again, did you know where Anthea Clay was that night?
Me personally, no, I did not.
Did anybody else?
Somebody talked to her that night, yes.
Somebody talked to her that night. Okay. And, but she wasn't brought down to the station, right?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. And again, how many times does she mention the name Detroit in this video?
I didn't count, but it was quite a few.
Quite a few, right? Would you say it was more? That she said April Anthea Clay more, or that she said Detroit more?
Probably about equal.
About equal. But Rory Wilson is a suspect at this point, right?
Yes.
Okay. Again, I would ask, with your experiences, that you were experienced homicide detective at this point, correct?
I don't understand what you're asking.
I'm asking, okay, you testified earlier, based on your experience and training, that, your knowledge of homicide, being a homicide detective, correct?
I believe I stated my training and knowledge of the case.
Okay. Well, I'm asking you, how long were you a homicide detective for the MCSO?
Judge, objection beyond the scope of my direction.
Yeah, I'm going to
Okay.
sustain that
Okay.
objection.
Again, I will go back. Ms. Malone, again, so Rory Wilson becomes a suspect. Why didn't you not want to ask Anthea Clay? Why didn't she become a suspect at this point?
Objection, Judge, asked and answered.
We'll do it one more time. You can answer the question, ma'am.
Rory Wilson was a suspect because Paula identified Rory Wilson as the man that was beating her and held a knife to her throat.
Okay.
That wasn't the question.
I literally, again, she became okay. He became a suspect because she said, I'm just clarifying here. She said that he beat her and put a knife to her throat, right?
Yes, sir.
Got it right. Okay. Okay. And did she just say that Anthea Clay did this? She'd been trying to set her up and have her beat up and have her money stolen from her.
Objection asked and answered already.
I'll overrule the objection. Didn't she basically say that? You can answer the question.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So why would Anthea Clay not rise to the level of a suspect?
Because she was a person of interest and possibly setting this up, nobody else put her in the crime.
Okay. Did anybody else put her in the crime later?
A CI eventually did, yes.
Okay. And do you know when that was?
I'm not certain on the date.
Okay. Anyway, was Miss Anthea Clay ever arrested for this crime?
No.
Okay. And if I remember correctly, you said Miss Anthea Clay is deceased at this point, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what killed her? Well, I shouldn't say. I should rephrase that anyway, because again, do you know how she died?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions, John.
All right. Thank you. Is there any redirect examination?
Ms. Malone, to your knowledge, during this investigation, was there ever enough evidence obtained with which to charge Anthea Clay with being involved in this crime?
No, there was not.
During this investigation, was there enough evidence obtained to charge this defendant with the crime?
Yes, there was.
Nothing further, Judge.
All right. So you may step down, ma'am.
Thank you.
Like what evidence? Yeah. Sarah Adams gives $2. Say, Kurt, kudos to taking the path to be better. I always try to make myself improved as much as one can. I'm currently on a quest to try to find a doctor who'll prescribe me medications, and it's getting tricky. Not a happy camper. Let's see what happens next.
Anything else?
Yes, sir. The state at this point is going to seek to read out to the jury certain portions of a deposition by Paula Belmont given on May 1st of 2019. She was sworn in at that time, swore to tell the truth, and her statements were made under oath to be truthful, and the state has certain portions of that deposition that we feel are relevant for rebuttal.
Just for the jury's understanding, you saw this person's deposition to perpetuate yesterday. Right? That was video and audio tape. This is a separate deposition, but again, it was under oath. There were questions, there was a court reporter, and there was a transcript made. It was under oath. So now counsel's being given an opportunity to read certain portions of that deposition for rebuttal purposes.
Thank you, Judge. Again, for the record, this deposition was May of 2019. Questions being proffered to Paula Belmont, May of 2019. Yeah, in dark clothing, I don't remember. It's been a year and a half at least. Question, I understand, but you immediately recognized him when he approached you. Answer, oh yeah. Question, is he the one that stabbed you? Is that right? I won't say stabbed, he cut my neck. Question, he sliced your throat? Yes, my neck. Question, and you're sure it was Rory Wilson? Answer, absolutely, without a doubt. Who else did you see there that night? No one that I can identify. Do you know Ty Tucker? I know him, yes. And you did not see Ty? Not that I can identify. I saw another person, but I can't identify him. Question, can you describe the other person that you saw? Answer, no, because I had Rory Wilson on top of me, pounding the hell out of me. Question, did Rory ever go down the stairs? Answer, they both. The first person went down the stairs, and then Rory went right behind him, attacking Matt. The first person was getting Matt from one end, the second person was getting Matt from the other end. Question, and you saw two people, Rory and the other person attacking Matt from behind? Answer, yes, one was in front and one was in the back. Question, and you said initially that you believed that the second person had a billy club. Answer, I think it was Rory. I think it was Rory. Question, you think Rory stabbed Matthew Bonnet? I didn't say that. You just said billy club. That had nothing to do with Rory stabbing Matt Bonnet. Then the question, let me go back. I want to make sure I completely understand your answer. Who had the billy club? Ms. Belmont's answer, I believe it was Rory. Rory had the billy club. Question, did you see any other weapons? Answer, no, I can't. I don't remember. I know at one point a small knife fell. I know at one point that other stick fell, and I believe that is when Roger got it. But you are talking a year and a half ago, and they are memories that I try and hide, so I can't answer that honestly. Question, did you see the second person with any weapons? Answer, I didn't know. I couldn't see the second person until they were going down the steps because I had Rory Wilson on top of me beating the shit out of me. But you said you saw Rory and the second person attacking Matthew Bonnet. Yes.
Mr. Mansfield, I think it would probably be good for the record if we just identified page and lines.
Okay, Judge, that's fine.
So like you started with, you go ahead and
that's fine, Judge. Let me just back up then. So what the state is referred to in the deposition is page 13 and page 14
Page
so far.
13, lines 1 through 25.
Correct. And page 14, lines 1 through 25.
All right. Now, what's next?
The next one we're going to go to is page 16, line 13. David, can you give me some water? I'm sorry, Judge. Page 16, line 13. Do you remember what the second person was wearing? Answer. I couldn't see the second person hardly at all, except he was a littler person. Dark clothing, and it was the second person that said, thank you, David. Dark clothing, and it was the second person that said, I think we killed him. Question. So you heard this second person speak? Yes. I think we killed him is what I heard him say. Now, Judge, I'm going to move to page 18, line 1. Who told you that Ty had something to do with it? Answer. Nobody told me. Question. The police didn't tell you that? Answer. No. Well, afterwards, when they arrested him, yes. Okay. Ms. Belmont continues. Not when I was having lunch with him at McDonald's, or I would have been nowhere near him. Question. Are you sure that he was involved? Answer. What kind of question is that? I had told you I can't identify him. That person was wearing a mask. I wasn't the one who identified him. So the only reason you believe he was involved is because other people have told you that he was, because the police, and she says, answer, because the police arrested him. Okay. Are you aware of whether or not any of his physical evidence was found at the scene? Answer. I don't know anything about that. All I know is the police arrested him. Then she goes on to say, actually, he himself told me that when we were at McDonald's, he himself told me, oh, the police had found a knife with blood on it, because I said to him, oh, good, it would be my blood. And he said, no, it's Matt's. Whether that was, this is Paula still speaking, whether that was true or not, I don't know. But he himself told me that while we were sitting at McDonald's, that the knife that the police found had Matt's blood.
That's through line 25 on page 18.
Yes, sir, that's correct. The next page I'm referring to is page 19, line 1. And it picks up from where the previous page left off. So he himself told me that while we were sitting at McDonald's, that the knife that the police found had Matt's blood on it. That's what he said. And the question, and you hugged him at McDonald's? Her answer, yes. I was.
Why do I care about any of this? Why do I care about anything? I'm still waiting for a moment when I care. Why do I care? What's he saying? What's he talking about? Yeah, it's like, is he making a point? Is he trying to say something? I don't. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure I don't know what he's talking about.
Upset, crying because of what Roy did, not knowing, like I said, not knowing that Ty Tucker had anything to do with it, because I can't identify him as being there one way or the other. That was Paula's response. I can't identify him as being there one way or the other. That line 7 on page 19. The next section that I'll be referring to is page 38, Judge, line 2. Paula's answer to a previous question. There was a scuffle between them, and Roger got thrown into a tarp. I don't believe I said he was beating him. I was the one getting beat, but there was a scuffle between those two, the other person and Roger. And the question, and you saw the second person holding a knife to Roger's throat? Answer, no, ma'am. You did not see that? No, ma'am. You were told that? I was told that by Roger. That is why Roger wasn't helping me. And Roger was the one who told you that the other man had a knife to his throat? Yes, ma'am. But you never saw that? No, ma'am. I couldn't see past Rory Wilson because he was on top of me, beating me for the third time, I have told you.
That's through line 25 on
Yes,
that
sir.
page 38.
Next page, page 54, line 14. The second person this is the question. The second person that you can't identify, do you know whether or not that person was white or black? Answer, I couldn't tell you. Question, okay, only that the person was smaller than Rory Wilson? Answer, yes. And you believe it was a male? Answer, it was a male. And you heard his voice? Answer, yes. Question, but the voice did not sound familiar to you? No, but it wasn't Rory Wilson's voice.
That was through line 25 on page 54.
Page 57, line 18. I may have asked you this. The second person that you can't identify that was there, do you remember what that person was wearing? Answer, dark clothing and a mask. Answer, yes. I'm sorry, dark clothing and a mask. Question, did Rory Wilson have on a mask? Answer, yes. Were the masks the same? I don't know. I didn't get to see the second person. That was line 25, page 57. Moving to page 58, line 1. But you said he was wearing a mask. Answer, yeah. Question, did you see the person? Answer, from the back when he was leaving, his darkness. What kind of mask was it? I don't know. It was dark. The mask was dark, like a hoodie mask, the back of it. I can't tell you anything about it other than that. Those are the statements, Judge, from the deposition given on May of 19 that the state published for purposes of rebuttal.
Anything further by way of rebuttal?
No, sir.
Okay, members of the jury, we've reached one of those points in time where I have to conduct a little bit of business outside of your hearing. If you wouldn't mind going in the jury room for a few minutes, I'd appreciate it.
Not guilty, baby. Not guilty. No one can identify him. No blood, no DNA, no fingerprints, no forensics, no statements from the defense, nothing. Got nothing except the statement of one conspirator. Uncorroborated statement of a conspirator. No money trail, no nothing.
All right, they're gone. So, just want to get an idea of how the rest of the day is going to unfold here. It's 3:50, so has Mr. Tucker received a copy of proposed jury instructions?
I have, Your Honor. I haven't had a chance to peruse it yet.
I have a packet for the court as well, if you would like it now.
It's all right.
Like it now?
I'll get it, but it doesn't have to be right at the moment.
Just let me know.
I'm just trying.
I would submit that again, if there's a higher burden, I didn't think there was enough. I mean, there was definitely enough for a prima facie case. I would not have challenged your ruling there, sir. But if there's a higher standard, if you're talking about the jury having no doubt, or at least no reasonable doubt, I would submit that there's no way that the state has presented a case that comes close to anywhere close to beyond a reasonable doubt. I would say that because, okay, still we've got, okay, my testimony, we've got Ms. Belmont's testimony. Now, again, we've kind of discussed Ms. Belmont's testimony today, and yes, at different times there were different things she said because of different things. I mean, again, this one in the hospital, yes, she was definitely right out of the crime, I guess, and yeah, she was definitely upset. We don't know if she was on medication. We don't know if any of that stuff, was because of that. Yes, Danielle Malone can testify to what she said, but she can't testify what her state of mind was. Same thing with, again, when we went through the deposition. Now, that one, I happen to know her state of mind at the time, just because, again, of reviewing videos and everything else. But, yes, there was reasons for that, too, and I'll address those in my close if I have to. The thing is but the state, again, now I just went and testified, too, and I don't remember anything in Mr. Mansfield's cross where he tied me into the crime or tied me to a piece of evidence or even impeached any of my testimony. So, I mean, I would imagine my testimony probably weighs as heavily as anybody else's. But, so with that said, I mean, okay, we go back to the first ones. There was no evidence presented against me from any of the other witnesses except for Travis Johnson. Now, Travis Johnson, again, not only did he change his story when he was on the stand within those 2 days. I remember a couple questions just offhand. I remember, when we asked him if he was not telling the truth about some of his statements, and we went through the whole vacillating thing. And the very next day, he comes in here and completely different answer. He actually says, yes, I wasn't telling the truth.
The sole witness against you lied on the stand. Yeah.
Between the 2 days, again, I would imagine, I haven't had a chance to ask him, but I mean, it definitely seemed like he had had a discussion with the state about some of his answers. Now, even the vacillating, again, I had to look that up. I have been to college. I'm fairly well educated, and I had to look it up. I didn't know what vacillating even meant at that point. But yet, Mr. Mansfield and Travis Johnson both used this word back and forth, like it was a common word. I would again submit that Mr. Johnson probably had a little bit of help with his testimony. Even so, his testimony doesn't match the evidence, and there's some serious inconsistencies in here. Because one of the things that Ms. Paul Belmont says is that Rory Wilson was wearing the same clothes that day that he was wearing that night. Travis Johnson, if I remember correctly, his story was that we go upstairs, change into dark clothes, come downstairs brandishing weapons. So if that's true, then why does Ms. Belmont say she saw and could recognize Rory Wilson because he was wearing the same exact clothes he wore that day? Another one is, again, the inconsistencies in the weapons. Again, the state is trying to put the murder weapon in my hand, what we assume is the murder weapon. We've always assumed that, I guess. Mr. Wilson's already been convicted on that murder weapon. Rightfully so. His DNA is on the handle of it. You have both victims' DNA and blood on the weapon. I'm not saying, again, that because again, I understand the principle behind felony murder, but they also haven't given any evidence other than Travis Johnson's word that I was there. And so far, Travis doesn't seem to have had, he doesn't seem to be very truthful, Your Honor, or credible, if I would say. So if he's the only thing that's putting me there, then you'd have to wonder if the jury is going to believe him. Now, again, Mr. Mansfield had a chance with me. He could have went ahead and tried to impeach anything I said up there. He didn't. Not one thing.
Well, like that, that's debatable. I mean, this is real life. It's not like a Perry Mason type thing.
No, I get it. I mean, it's not. I'm not trying to be. It's not a showboat or anything like that.
I know that. I'm just saying that, he's not most likely. Mr. Mansfield or any other lawyer isn't going to somehow or other get you to break down on the witness stand.
No, I didn't expect that. But you would expect if they have all this evidence, enough evidence that they're going to bring me to trial and they're going to go ahead and try and put me on trial for murder, you would expect that he would have at least one thing that he could take from the murder and make me a liar in my story. One. I mean, at least one.
Well, who knows what he might be arguing about?
Well, I mean,
you know, I mean,
look, I gave a story up there that yes, this is what happened to me, and I've never been asked it before until today. You know, as far as my entire story. Again, in this entire story, to be honest, I mean, even with when the investigators asked me questions, they asked me questions. I know we didn't testify to that, but I've never in this entire story, nothing I've ever said has been proven to be untrue. Nothing. And yet here I am. Now, Mr. Johnson, again, there's plenty of things that are inconsistencies. Again, there's nothing that says he's the getaway driver. We went ahead and had Captain Phelps, we played that tape, and look, at great risk to me, I put that tape up there. Because I also knew that the statements, the incriminating statements, weren't true. And I'm going to have to address that with the jury in the close if that's what indeed happens. But yes, the only thing the only thing that ever said John Travis Johnson was the getaway driver was Captain Phelps. It came right from her. Now, Mr. Mansfield did try and say that Travis offered her, my name, without any help from Phelps. And that's completely untrue, too. Again, if you want to talk about testimony and going over testimony, I guess, or rehearsing testimony, I don't know. But the thing is yes, when he did that, he asked him, he's like, okay, did she offer, did you offer her Tyrone Tucker's name without being asked by Captain Phelps? No, Captain Phelps, on the other hand, said, we know who the asshole is here. And his answer was, is it Tyrone? That's not exactly saying, hey, Ty did this. That is literally leading a witness into, or leading a suspect into saying it's somebody else. Again, as far as all the evidence goes, there's no evidence other than that. I let the state put in almost every piece of evidence they wanted to. Almost everything they wanted, right? Not one of those pieces of evidence has been tied to me, not a single one. The jury's going to be back there looking at all these pictures, nothing in there. There's not a single piece of evidence that Mr. Mansfield actually put to me, not one. So okay, there's that. And then, okay, I haven't made very many objections, but that's also because, again, there's nothing to object. I mean, they can say their story. I've heard it before. And same thing. The inconsistencies are still there. With John Travis Johnson, his stories are inconsistent at best, right? And again, now we have Miss Belmont. Miss Belmont, yes, we had a few different things, and yes, I'd hoped to have a few more witnesses here. I did, and I'm not going to. That's okay. At this point, I'm not even necessarily sure I need them. Miss Belmont, yes, she went through different periods of time. Apparently, Mr. Mansfield wasn't made aware of the motion that Your Honor granted, letting us talk and letting us become friends. But other than that, it's like, I could tell you the different reasons why she felt different ways at different times and why different things happened with Miss Belmont. There's videos of that too. We discussed putting them on, but again, it wasn't necessary apparently. But there's nothing else, Your Honor. I mean, literally, it comes back down to Travis Johnson. You're talking about one man's word versus another. And at this point, I think I'm much more credible than Travis Johnson. So, I mean, unless the state's got something else that they can bring out, something else that they can show the jury to even suggest the story's true.
There's no more evidence.
Okay, well then...
That's the evidence is...
Then I would suggest, Your Honor, that there is no way that a jury could look at this case, the case the state put on, and that they could come up beyond a reasonable doubt that I actually did this crime. And whether it be felony murder, whether it be robbery, whether it be any of it. Because again, you can't even put me there, other than Travis Johnson. So, I mean, I guess at this point I would defer to the state. I mean, the state, I'm sure, wants to go ahead and be heard.
All right, well, thank you. Does the state want to...
Reasonable minds could evaluate this evidence, and if they believe Travis Johnson, they find him credible, then they would convict this defendant. Now, the defendant says I'm much more credible than Travis Johnson. Well, that's his opinion on his own testimony, but I submit to the court that the corroborating evidence the state introduced to corroborate Travis Johnson is compelling. And if a juror believes that evidence, they can render a verdict of guilty. As far as him letting us move in evidence, he could have objected if he didn't want to. The evidence that we moved in is the evidence we moved in. At the end of the day, this court and the jury has received good and competent evidence from Travis Johnson and from Danielle Malone and from the DNA analyst and from Dr. Steckbauer, and together the elements of these charges have been proven through these witnesses. Now, the defendant put on the testimony of Paula Belmont, and I submit to the court that testimony has been fairly impeached extensively as to her knowledge of that second assailant who would be this defendant. He says nobody puts him at the scene of the crime, but that's not true. Travis Johnson watches the videos and articulates who is who in these videos that we saw. At the end of the day, we have the defendant, all he's put on is the testimony of Paula Belmont and his own testimony, and then there's obviously the jury instruction that's he catered specifically to how to evaluate testimony, and if that testimony, if the person giving it has something to gain from it, certainly the defendant has something to gain from his testimony, and so would Travis Johnson for that regard. But Travis Johnson has been consistent in his statement from the beginning until now, albeit a couple of minor, I guess, changes or inconsistencies. The sum and substance of his story has been consistent from the date of the arrest in 2017 to the date of his proffer in April of 22 to the date of this trial and Rory Wilson's trial. And because of that, Judge, the state would request that you deny the motion for judgment of acquittal.
Your Honor, do I get
Yes.
Okay, thank you. In addressing Mr. Mansfield's claims here, again, we can go back to he wants to say that Travis Johnson is credible and that he hasn't changed his story. That is not true. Travis Johnson has changed his story many times. Again, if we were looking at the videos, he changed his story numerous times. As a matter of fact, he even admitted that instead of vacillating, he was lying when he first told his story, right? Then he goes ahead and oh, wait a second, Captain Phelps comes by, tells him exactly every single detail and every single part of his story, and yet that's the story that the state still presents. But unfortunately, it still doesn't match the other witnesses or the evidence. The evidence does not put the knife in my hand. The DNA puts the knife in Roy Wilson's hand, contrary to John Travis Johnson's story. If you want to go again, even to the other witnesses, Roger Ruggett, 2 skull masks, even Paula Belmont, you want to talk about her and her testimony wavering or vacillating. Yes, she does, but she never says, not a single witness in this case has ever said a neck gaiter with Jägermeister all over it, which you would think is fairly recognizable. They want to talk about a beard being recognizable? Well, guess what? So is a Jägermeister neck gaiter, I would imagine, would be too. Again, I don't see anything in here where John Travis Johnson, and I'll tell you what, even his behavior up on the stand, he played really well with the whole innocent getaway driver thing for a little while. But yeah, when he gets upset, it shows. And the other thing is, he also says that in 2017 he was sober. But then he also goes ahead and says, wait a second, I'm doing all this dope, I'm smoking crack, I'm doing all this other stuff. That doesn't sound sober. Then you also have, beyond that, okay, not sober, and then you talk about his story, again, core to his story. How many times did he say, I did it for $50 worth of gas money? $50 worth of gas money. Now, again, comes back on stand, and this is in the same, by the way, in the same cross, he goes ahead and says, at first it's $50 of gas money, now it's because, and I would imagine this is true, because he wants to get high. That's different. So Mr. Mansfield, he wants to say that he hasn't materially changed his story. He has materially changed his story, but he also doesn't match the other witnesses. He doesn't match the other evidence. Roger Ruggett says 2 knives. Okay? That doesn't match John Travis Johnson's story. Now, Paula, again, she has varying stories, and I would submit there's reasons for that, but again, it doesn't match John Travis Johnson's story. Now, John Travis Johnson, sure, he could come up with all that other stuff. He could drive you, he could literally draw you a map man for the route. He can literally go ahead and map out I would imagine he could probably map out the whole crime. That would be easy to do if you were actually there. I mean, I don't see where John Travis Johnson would have a problem doing that. He's admitted he was there. He's admitted to his deal. Yes, he's getting, I mean, you talk about a sweetheart deal. 5 years.
Judge, we're going beyond an argument for judgment of acquittal here.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
to some extent. I mean,
Okay.
you know, I think,
I'll comment
Mr.
back.
Tucker, you're probably tipping your hand for your closing argument. But,
Not necessarily.
I guess that's not, not a mystery what some of the things in your closing is going to be. But
Thank you, sir.
You're getting into quite a bit of detail here.
I'll address one other thing. He challenges my story, right? And he says because I have interests in this. I didn't take a deal, Your Honor. I could have. I didn't take one. John Travis Johnson did.
Yeah, I'm
And I mean,
aware.
you talk about what
those
I have to gain.
respective decisions.
Well, I mean, what I have to gain from this. That's what Mr. Mansfield.
Well, yeah, of course, that's one of the things that any witness is, one of the considerations is what do they have to gain, what's at stake.
Yes, and what do I have to lose, Your Honor? I have a lot to lose,
Your
too.
freedom.
I do, and for the rest of my life, Your Honor.
Yes,
Not
sir.
just for a little while, rest of my life.
But that's making that point.
I'm just saying, you know, I didn't have to do this, but I am. And the reason I have my personal reasons for doing this, but it has nothing to do with, I want to gain this. If it was, again, some kind of payment or something like that, I could understand. But no, no, I'm doing this because I have my own moral reasons for doing this. But again, that's what I submit. Again, you want to talk about who's more credible, who's not. It boils down to, at this point, whether or not you believe me, whether or not you believe John Travis Johnson, whether or not you believe Paula. But, I mean, there is no physical evidence. And he brought in, and this is one thing I do need to address, he brought in Dr. Steckbauer, which I don't know how that proves the state's case, because it is.
Well, in a homicide case.
I mean, it proves it was a homicide, but it doesn't.
You're going to have the medical exam.
No, I get that, but okay, how does that tie me into the case? How is that proof against me?
You know, there's an old saying in the law that every hit doesn't have to be a home run. It takes many bricks to build a wall. So
I've heard that too.
That certainly wasn't a home run, but it's all part of a case that's put together that may or may not succeed ultimately.
Well, no, I understand,
but
Your Honor.
you've got to be able to look at that basic process.
I understand, Your Honor, but there's also an old legal term that I've heard before
Tell
too.
me, what is it?
A brick is not a wall.
Okay.
A brick is not a wall.
Right.
Okay, they have a brick. They don't have a wall. And again, so, yes, Dr. Steckbauer is part of the case. I would never deny that. And his testimony is definitely valid towards the case. It's valid to say somebody got murdered. This is.
I mean, he's obviously not going to get what he's asking for, but I mean, yeah, I mean, he's got a pretty sharp point. Could a reasonable jury on a verdict of acquittal, right? The question is, could a reasonable jury vote to acquit? Could they, in some reasonable combination of the evidence, come to the conclusion beyond a reasonable doubt? And I'm like, if the only thing you have against you is the testimony of one guy who took a deal, who admitted in his own testimony to lying, that vacillated, went back and forth on various elements, I mean, people have been convicted on a one-witness case, but usually the one witness is, better? Oh, I don't know, man. Yeah, I kind of think he's right. Yeah.
That's how they got killed. I don't debate that at all. Same thing with the DNA analyst. Now, the DNA analysts, we covered the whole inconclusive results and how I said they were being used as a positive by the by the state. That is not the same thing as positive results. And even in that testimony, things that they were trying to use as inconclusive as positives weren't even things that were put into evidence. You're talking about the gloves, you're talking about the sweatshirt. That stuff, man, wasn't even found at the crime scene, had nothing to do with the crime, at least that we know of.
We are running out of time.
But anyway, the point is, Your Honor, yes, I understand why they're important to the investigation. I understand that. But I want to know how that proves that I had something to do with their charges. How does that prove their case?
Well, I'm not going to make their closing argument for them, and I'm not going to make your closing argument for you.
I wouldn't expect you would.
I used to be a trial lawyer for many years. I've tried many a criminal case and homicide cases, so I know a lot of your questions are rhetorical in nature, but as I sit here, I have my understanding and ideas. So in any event, thank you.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
So it is a different standard for this motion. As we discussed quite a bit for the close of the state's case, prima facie case. Okay. Now it's analysis of the entire evidentiary record, the totality of the evidence, and the judge has to ask himself or herself, does that or can that support a verdict of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt by a reasonable juror? Is it so devoid of convincing, persuasive evidence that no reasonable juror could find the defendant guilty? And if that's the case, then the judge would rule as a matter of law that there's an acquittal right here and now. So, Mr. Tucker, you're obviously very, very knowledgeable about this case. Very conversant, very knowledgeable. As we kind of alluded to during your argument in the States, and I'm going to look at just one of these jury instructions because you and the state mentioned it. It's 3.94. And the actual verbiage is, did the witness have some interest in how the case should be decided? So, did Mr. Johnson? Yes. Do you? Yes. I mean, and that's the point. The jurors can consider that along with a lot of other things, but that's one of the factors. Another jury instruction, again, part of 3.9, weighing the evidence. And it came up in jury selection, interestingly enough. Whether the state has met its burden of proof does not depend upon the number of witnesses it is called or upon the number of exhibits it is offered, but instead upon the nature and quality of the evidence presented. So you obviously feel that the nature and quality of the evidence is weak, shaky, whatever adjective you want to use, and state has a different take on it. I will readily acknowledge you have a lot to argue. And you touched upon some of those things in your argument here. And I'm not going to sit here and say that you don't have a lot of things to argue. But I believe that ultimately the evidentiary record is such that I couldn't and wouldn't and be mistaken to rule as a matter of law that it should be taken from the jury's hands, because I believe, depending upon the credibility determinations that they make, that there could be a guilty verdict and is and would be supported by the evidence. Again, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I readily acknowledge your arguments, but I am going to deny the motion based upon the finding that I've made. So we go forward. Again, please study these jury instructions. If you have any objections or specials or additionals, that's the kind of thing that we do in a charge conference. I basically work from my Florida standard jury instructions here, as well as the proposals. Some of these, I assume a lot of them come right from the Supreme Court's website. And
They all did, Judge.
they are, okay. So that means there's standard jury instructions. That doesn't mean that they can't be other proposals or objections. All I'm saying is that's kind of the starting point. So you do need to be prepared to, if there are any objections or additions or the verdict form you find to be objectionable or in need of change, those are the things that we talk about during charge conference. So I think we have ample time, and if there's changes, then they can be made, and actually I think the arguments could start even while the changes are being made. But having said that, I mentioned the length for closing. We're still somewhere between hour and a half. But and I guess, you know, unless there's, you know, I'd give each side an hour and a half. It doesn't mean you have to use it all, but what I don't want to happen is to say, get to an hour and have someone look up to me, either defendant, defense counsel, or the state, and say, Judge, I need more time. I'd much prefer to be a little liberal at the beginning, so we know that when the time is up, that's it. So, hour and a half, but that's the max. The state gets to go first and last. Total amount of time is the same, but the defendant's sandwiched in between. You get the same amount of time. They're going to make a rebuttal argument. The total time has to be equal. I mean, you don't have to use it all, but the maximum is equal. So, unless there's something else, we'll be here at 9 and hopefully have a smooth charge conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, that's the end of that. So uncivil is a pretty strong no, not guilty vote on this one. State's evidence sucks ass. They don't have anything that ties them to the scene. They don't have anything that ties them to the scene. They have nothing that ties them to this crime except the testimony of one guy who's already admitted that he's lying on his testimony, and he took a deal, and he's vacillating, and inconsistent, and yeah. And they have nothing else that ties this guy to the crime. And the prosecutor couldn't get anywhere with him in cross at all. He kept winning in cross. Yeah, no. Yeah, this is some bullshit, man. This is some absolute bullshit. And the judge's decision to let it go forward is slightly annoying. But, you know, what can you do? The judge, if they come back guilty on this, I think I could try appeal on sufficiency of the evidence. See if I get anywhere with that. Yeah. I'll try to cover closing tomorrow. It will depend on whether or not they're doing stuff for Crumbly tomorrow or not in terms of broadcasting, because I sort of said I was going to take that first. And then I've got a doctor's appointment on Thursday, hopefully, that's going to help me get what I need to get, although we'll see. Yeah, there's no colloquy for the defendant before he took the stand in his case in chief. I don't know if that's true or not. We didn't watch the whole thing. There was like 3 hours of discussion, so I don't know if there's a colloquy or not. There might have been. It might not have been on film. I don't know if there was a colloquy or not. Yeah. We didn't see it, that's true. Tomorrow, presumably, we would be here 8:30 a.m. There or thereabouts. Can I even explain how it made it this far into evidence? Not really. I can't explain the prosecutor's decision to prosecute, to be honest, given this fact pattern. No fingerprints, no DNA, no sweatshirts with sweat on it, nothing. Nothing ties him to the scene. Nothing ties him to the crime. Nothing ties him to the event. The judge didn't do a colloquy. I don't know that to be true, so I'll beg off. I'll beg off. I don't know that to be true. So the failure to give a colloquy could be a basis to appeal, assuming that happened. Murder can be proven by circumstantial evidence. Surely, yes. In fact, most murders are, but it would be nice if you had some circumstantial evidence. You don't have any circumstantial evidence. You don't really have, you don't have any circumstantial evidence, which is kind of a problem. Was a colloquy? It's the judge's formal advising the defendant of his rights as it relates to the decision to testify or not. So regardless of whether the defendant chooses to testify or not, either way, the judge has to advise him of his rights. So that's called a colloquy. It's like, do you understand that you have the right to choose to testify, and you also have the right to choose not to testify? Do you understand that by testifying, you're giving up your Fifth Amendment rights, and they'll be able to cross-examine you about anything related to this crime? Do you realize this? Do you realize that? Do you still want to testify? So it's just the formal advisement of his rights. Yeah. Right now I'm trying to find a decent happy hour near my place because I think I want to go out and get food. I think I want to actually go out today and get some food. So I'm trying to see if there's anything good near my house that has decent food. Being at the Treehouse 3 times is evidence? I'm not sure it's even that, but okay. You know. Pluckers? I could go to Pluckers Wing Bar. Do they have a good happy hour? It's not the worst idea I've ever heard in my life. Pluckers, I've never actually been there in person. Do they have a good happy hour? Let's see if their website says they have a good happy hour. What day is today? It is Tuesday. Texas Tuesday. $1 off all pints, bottles, cans, and Pluckers cocktails. Yeah. They have a happy hour. No, on Mondays they have all-you-can-eat wings, though. That sounds pretty badass. Definitely want a piece of that, but I don't have happy hours on their website. Yeah, shit-faced does not equal guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Yeah, no doubt, for sure. I agree. I guess I could call them and ask. I liked it when Chili's used to have a decent happy hour. Chili's used to have a pretty good happy hour. They used to have a lot of good stuff on happy hour, and then they killed their happy hour. Like, they used to have a lot of good food. You used to be able to get like pretty much all the appetizers for half off, and it was really good. So Chili's took away my happy hour. That made me sad. Chili's doesn't serve too bad food, at least in my experience. It's not great, but it's serviceable. Applebee's, Applebee's is a depressing place. The Applebee's near my house and the Applebee's I've been to in my past have all been kind of depressing and worn down and sort of feel old. They just feel like everything feels old in there and not particularly well. It feels a little dingy, feels a little unkept. Applebee's, every Applebee's I've been to in the last couple of years just feels like the restaurant isn't well maintained. Just feels like it's dimly lit. Feels like the staff doesn't feel like they're engaged. It feels very sort of, feels like it's on its way out. TGI Fridays? I wonder if there's a TGI Fridays near my house. Not really. Yeah, there's not a TGI Fridays near my house. I'd have to go downtown. Lame. I'm not going downtown for a seat for TGI Fridays. Yeah. The food is bland and the atmosphere is blander. Yeah, that's a pretty good thing. Yeah, I agreed with that. Roadhouse? Ooh, yeah, I could go to Roadhouse and get a steak. That's actually not bad. If there is a Roadhouse near my place. If they have a happy hour, I'm in. Did I move to Houston at the end of next month? Excuse me. I'm not sure if they have a happy hour though. Roadhouse is good. I could go there and get a good steak. I'm not sure if they have a happy hour. Let's see. Texas Roadhouse happy hours 2024. Okay. So they have happy hour till 6. Okay. From 4 to 6, they offer a tempting array of half-price appetizers. All right, I'm in. All right, I'll go to Roadhouse and see what I can do in terms of appetizers. Get some appetizers. That sounds good. From 4 to 6. Yeah. Yeah. One hour? Well, I mean, it's 2 hours, but, it's 4 to 6. It's 2 hours. Oh, yeah, I'll go there. Local bar, grill, and have some decent local made food and stuff. All these chains being sub. Yeah, I don't know. Texas Roadhouse does a good job. They make good food. I like their steaks. They have a very predictable steak. All right, I'm gonna look into that. I'm gonna call them and ask them about their happy hour. All right, I'm gonna sign off for now. We should be back tomorrow about 8:30, give or take. Let's see if anyone's streaming that I can send you over to, because that's always a nice thing to do. Let's see if anyone is streaming. Is anyone streaming? Melanie Little is streaming. I'll send you over Melanie's way. There she is. All right, I'm going to send you over that way. You know the drill. Be nice. Have fun. All right, I'm going to see you guys later. I hope you all have a great night. Bye-bye for now.